marching. Oh, I want to be in that number when the blues go marching in. Oh, when the blues go marching in. Oh, when the blues go marching in. Oh, I want to be in that number when the blues go marching in. Oh, when the blues go marching in. Oh, when the blues go marching in. Oh, I want to be in that number when the blues go marching in.
Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the opening drive on 101 ESPN in St. Louis, where it's 7:01. Your time check brought to you by Clarkson Jewelers, an officially licensed Rolex jeweler. And here come your St. Louis Blues. With Brooke Grimsley and Dan McLaughlin, I'm Randy Carricker. Great to have you with us. How you guys doing? Fired up? Fired up?
Yeah, that feels a little sacrilegious to play that. I mean, great for the Blues to come back in that one, but Randy, come on.
What?
Come on.
I walked in this morning and I said to Dan, you remember that game when they were down 3-0 in Winnipeg in 2019?
Wasn't quite that game.
5?
No, wasn't quite that game.
No.
I was wearing my Blues shoes. I was so fired up.
It is a good win, though.
It's a very good Calgary
win.
last night. We're going to talk to our...
It seems like you're being a little sarcastic on this Wednesday morning.
What? No way. Okay.
So how's everybody doing? Everybody
Doing great.
Good. Yeah.
So we're going to talk to our buddy Jamie Rivers about the Blues. The Blues made their way to Van Blanking Vancouver after the game against Calgary last night. And so we'll talk to Rivs at 9:30. A lot of Blues discussion this morning. We've got Ask Uncle Randy coming up in just a few minutes. We're going to talk to our friend Dave Kohlberg from Callaway. This is the week of the PGA show down in Orlando. Going to talk to him about that. And... at 8 o'clock, how hot is the seat for Oli Marmol? So a lot coming your way here on 101 ESPN. Last night, the Blues fell behind 3-1. And the Blues had only one win when trailing after 2 periods heading into last night. It was actually a 3-1 game when they were playing late in the second. They were shorthanded. And Braden Shen, who had never had, amazingly, a shorthanded goal in the National Hockey League, came through with one.
They turn it over. Shen, shorthanded breakaway. He shoots, he scores! Braden Shen, the 11th shorthanded goal of the season for the Blues. He won the draw. He did it by himself, and he pulled the Blues to within 1. It's 3-2. 2:47 to go in the second period.
Whole new game here. We go to the third, down by a score of 3-2 at the 6:56 mark. The stalwart who always comes through for the Blues did it again.
Great work by Kyrou. Held the puck in for the Blues. They get it down low. Can they keep it in? Letty at the point does. Down to the corner. Kyrou. The referee in the way. Walks it off the wall. Shoots. Score! Jordan Kyrou made the play at the line to hold it in. Gets the reward to score. 3-3. 13:04 to go. Third period. Kyrou ties it up.
With his 13th of the year.
What did you say before that, Randy? Before that goal?
The Blues stalwart who always comes through did again.
You are sarcastic here this morning. They won the game, by the way.
I know, and here's why.
Okay.
Here's why.
Just to make sure, yeah.
Because the other stalwart who always comes through did again.
Letty and Shen hold him into the wall with 60 seconds to go in regulation. It's coming loose to the near wing. Here's Parayko. Passes ahead. Saad to the red. He's got the blue. Shoots it. Score! Brandon Saad gives the Blues the lead. 48 seconds to go in the third period. Saad has 2. The Blues up by 1. 4-3 the score.
Oh, that's a watershed game. That's one that can turn the momentum. The Blues are only 3 points out of the final playoff spot in the Western Conference. Here come your St. Louis Blues.
So you're saying it's going down as the Brandon Saad game?
The Sauter game, yeah.
The Sauter, okay.
Yeah.
Sauter game. Yeah. What about the Parayko game? Colton Parayko was fantastic. 25-17 of total ice time. 3.5 of it was shorthanded minutes. He had 2 points and was +2 in the game. 2 shots on goal, 4 shot attempts. And the biggest thing for me, 4 hits and 4 block shots.
Only 5 shots allowed in the third period for the Blues. One of the key moves I thought that Drew Bannister made, moved Matthew Kessel with Krug, Marco Scandella with Falk, and Scandella, by the way, who gets a lot of heat, I think, here in town at times, actually played a very good game last night. I thought he played very well.
Yeah, Scandella and Parayko were both terrific, and great job by Jordan Binnington. Again, to keep the Blues in. There were some opportunities there for Calgary to put it away, and he stoned them. He was great. And so tonight, the Blues go into Van Vancouver, where the Canucks have the best record in the conference. They've got 68 points, or 4 clear of Winnipeg. And by the way, 68 points, the best record in the most points in the National Hockey League. So after winning in Vancouver, the Blues, or winning in Calgary, the Blues will have to go to Vancouver.
I would say they're lucky they're not going to Edmonton.
Yeah.
The Oilers are the hottest team right now in the National Hockey League. They don't lose.
14 straight.
14 straight for the Oilers. They're pretty darn good.
Crazy.
Yeah, I agree with you guys.
So much to like, though, about what happened from the middle of the second period on. I thought the Blues turned it on, and you're thinking during that game, okay, they just aren't talented enough. But then they show the talent. That's the bothersome thing for me, is that under Craig Berube, you got Craig Berube fired, and you have to trust Doug Armstrong. His eyes are not lying when he says before the season, I hope to battle for a playoff spot. I hope to battle for third place in the division or a wild card spot. They didn't think their team was going to be elite from a skill standpoint, but I'll tell you what, when they play hard, they look elite.
Except for the first and second period last night. The turnovers were a big issue. Even in that second period, guys, with under 8 minutes to go, how does the puck keep getting past Torrey Krug's stick like that, which led to that third goal?
I think it's just Torrey Krug's stick. I think that's what it comes down to.
He needs a different stick? Is that what it is?
Well, no, I just think he was a better player in Boston. And I don't know if it was Bruce Cassidy, if it's the system here. He's older. He's 4 years older now. He's just... He's not bad. He's just pedestrian.
Nick Leddy was pretty good last night, too. We haven't even mentioned his name. I thought Nick Leddy played well. The defense as a whole, after the momentum-shifting shorthanded goal, changed everything. That was the game. When you got a shorty, that just changed the momentum in the game.
It really did.
Yeah.
And the Blues win it by a score of 4-3. Meanwhile, college basketball last night, Texas A&M knocks off Mizzou 63-57, and this Mizzou season is spiraling out of control quickly.
6 consecutive losses now for the Tigers. Up next, they'll have South Carolina, a team they lost to in OT. Aggies only made 29% of their shots, and Mizzou still loses.
Yeah.
That is not a good number when you look at 29% and you lose that game. Ouch.
No, it is what it is right now with Mizzou basketball. Do you give them a mulligan for this year because the transfer portal didn't work out for them this time?
I do, because I think that Dennis Gates can coach.
And he can recruit.
And he can recruit. But you don't get long in college basketball, and he's going to have to, next year, turn it around quickly.
I bet he does with the kids he has coming in. It's one of the top recruiting classes in the country. Now, it does take time to get acclimated to a new head coach, Division I basketball. I get all that, but does he get a mulligan? Absolutely. With what happened last year coming in his first season, I don't think there's any doubt he gets a mulligan for what's happening this year. Not great, but it's a mulligan.
Baseball, 3 deserving players are announced yesterday as Hall of Famers. The former Rangers and Mariners and Dodgers and Red Sox third baseman Adrian Beltre, one of the best ever to play the game. Todd Helton, first baseman for the Colorado Rockies. Great to see a Rocky hitter get in who played his whole career there. And Joe Mauer. And I was concerned about Joe Mauer, but won a couple of MVPs behind the plate. Very deserving Hall of Famer, and I'm glad the writers saw fit to put him in too.
I think a catcher winning MVP and a batting title is something you have to look at that takes him over the top from others. Billy Wagner does not get in. Now, explain this one to me. 3 writers voted for Billy Wagner in last season's vote or last year's vote, but not in 2024. So they take away those votes. 2 writers sent in ballots with only Manny and A-Rod on them. So there's 2 votes that are gone. So he's got the most ever strikeouts by a left-handed reliever, 4th most all-time in Hall of Fame relievers, and he misses by 5 votes in his 9th try. That would have gotten him in, and he misses because of voters maybe not taking it seriously. They don't really care. They don't follow the game, whatever the case may be. But the writers hold what is the ultimate for any player that plays in Major League Baseball, and he doesn't get in. And by the way, Matt Holliday got 1%. 1%, so he's off the ballot.
Yeah.
That's what confuses me is what would change from year to year? If you have him on your ballot one year, why would he not be the next?
That's a great question. I don't know.
That's what always just confuses me about the ballots.
Yeah, it doesn't make any sense.
The only reason would be that if, for example, you had him last year on your ballot and he was 10th, and
So he
one or
gets
two guys.
bumped by somebody
so you get
coming
four
on.
newcomers that come in.
Randy,
But
either you're a Hall of Famer or you're not.
I agree. And for me, Billy Wagner is easy as a Hall of Famer.
It's a slam dunk.
Yeah.
He should be in. You're either honestly, you should ask the question: is he a Hall of Famer or not? If he was on your ballot prior to this, then he should get in.
Yeah.
The other ones that are coming on are going to have 10 years to have the chance to get in. So Billy Wagner's running out of time, and the final year Tim Raines got in, Edgar Martinez got in, Larry Walker got in. I would anticipate that Billy Wagner, there's going to be a groundswell of support to make sure he gets in. However, he should be in this year, period.
And Gary Sheffield, it was his last year. And
He's done.
He didn't get in. He got 63.9% of the vote. Andrew Jones got 61.6%. And by the way, Beltre got 95.1%, Helton 79.7%, Mauer 76.1%. The threshold is 75%, and those three are going to be inducted in Cooperstown.
I like all the decisions. I do like Adrian Beltre a lot. I just think that he was such a fun player to watch when I was growing up watching baseball, is that he just always stood out because he looked like, a kid out there just playing a game, and it was so fun to watch too. And Todd Helton, I feel like he deserves a lot more credit for being a two-sport athlete. If you remember his time at Tennessee, quarterback there, worked out well for him. He's in that conversation of being one of those who could do well with both sports.
Over 3,000 hits, 477 home runs, Gold Gloves, and he's not a unanimous Hall of Famer. Who didn't vote for Adrian Beltre to get in? It's insane to me that these guys don't get a unanimous trip to Cooperstown. Writers do it every single year, and I don't understand it.
Well, there are some
Going
people,
back to your point, that's why they say, well, he's going to be on the ballot for 9 years, and I saved my vote for another guy. He's either a Hall of Famer or he's not.
And there are some people that are so stringent with their votes that they say nobody is worthy of going in on the first ballot.
And that's ridiculous,
It's
too.
preposterous.
Yes. And there'll be first-time guys next year, like Ichiro. Ichiro is on the ballot next year. He'll get in. Should be unanimous.
Yes.
But he won't
Will
be.
No. We've only had Mariano, right?
Yep. There was two others, I think. I think Jeter may have been unanimous, too.
And Griffey, did Griffey get?
I think Griffey was the other one. I think there's three total.
So we're off and running here on 101 ESPN. Coming up, get your text into the Air Comfort Service text line, 314-399-9646, 314-399-YO-HO. Ask Uncle Randy on this hump day, January 24th, coming your way on 101 ESPN. Hey, you're listening to a sports show, and one of the great sports companies in St. Louis is Together Credit Union, City SC's official banking partner, and Together Credit Union is offering you a safe and reliable way to grow your money. Certificates of deposit are an attractive investment for new and experienced investors because the return on your investment is fixed and it's guaranteed. And right now, Together Credit Union is offering two fantastic CD promotions. Your first CD rate option is an 11-month CD term with 5.40 annual percentage yield. Your second CD rate option is a 19-month CD term with 5.00% annual percentage yield. Both options require a minimum balance of $1,000, but it's a great way to grow your money, guaranteed. Head to your nearest Together Credit Union branch or visit togethercu.org today to learn more and visit with the official banking partner of City SC. Early withdrawal penalties apply and may reduce earnings on the account. Rate offers are accurate as of January 18th, respectively. Rates are subject to change without notice. Other rates and terms available. Membership eligibility required. Federally insured by the NCUA.
Dive into his infinite well filled with wisdom to find you answers. Text 314-399-9646. It's Ask Uncle Randy on 101 ESPN.
Brooke Grimsley and Dan McLaughlin. I'm Randy Carricker. Matthew Rocchio is here, and we have the text line open, 314-399-9646, 314-399.
Yo-ho!
Dan, 314-399.
Yo-ho.
Thank you. Your questions for Ask Uncle Randy here on 101 ESPN. Matthew, what do you got?
And how am I supposed to trust you with this kind of advice if I don't know, why should I trust you? Do you have a lot of experience? Is there been a lot of things you've
been around,
with?
Oh, yeah.
Where's the confidence? How am I supposed to trust you with this kind of sage advice unless
I've been around,
Okay,
there we go.
Well, I didn't know.
I just assumed that with my avuncular appearance and attitude.
What's avuncular?
Like an uncle.
Yeah.
Seriously? Yes.
Yeah,
is it a real word?
Is it?
Uh-huh.
Yes.
No. Is it really?
Like how dads are, like how like a brother would be like, fraternal. Avuncular is like the fraternal
No, I
version.
haven't.
I've never heard anybody say this.
Yeah, avuncular.
Okay.
Relating to an uncle.
Yeah, if you kill your uncle, it's avuncular side. Mm-hmm. Instead of fratricide or matricide, it's avuncular side.
I have never heard that.
Real word.
So here is the official Merriam-Webster definition of avuncular: suggestive of an uncle, especially in kindness or geniality. Jovial and avuncular, the president's chief of staff seems oblivious to the pressures that accompany what is arguably the second most powerful job in the land.
Use the word avuncular there?
Yep. Of or relating to an uncle. 2 weeks of poker had led to his writing to his uncle a distressed but confident request for more funds, and the avuncular foot had come down with a joyous bang. So there is avuncular.
Wow.
Avuncular is my favorite.
I'll try to use that later on throughout the day.
That could be the word of the day.
I'm going to be searching for any way to put that into a sentence in a conversation.
It's such a good word.
So now you know.
I love it.
Via radio.
I love it every time you say it.
Never heard it.
Oh, well, I'm glad you
So
heard it
thank
now.
you. You educated me, and you educate me every single morning.
Well, thank you, Daniel.
Daniel, let's get some other education. Randy.
Yes.
Dear Uncle Randy, I'm getting ready to make some chili because it's cold. Green and red peppers in or no?
If you like them, absolutely. Now, if you're making chili, and absolutely, if you like them. I mean, some people do chili without beans, and it's good, right?
Mm-hmm.
Matthew, do you do chili without beans?
Yeah, I'm all about that beanless chili. It's Texas chili, if you will.
Right? So I have no problem with whatever you want to put in your chili. Now, green and red pepper is fun. And I'm somebody who probably would not go with the peppers in there, but if you like it, then go for it.
It'll warm you up, I would say.
This is weather for
Yeah,
actually,
this would
it's
be
kind
the
of
time to
warm.
do it.
What's the weather?
It is a little warm today.
Yeah, it's we had
And foggy.
Yeah, were you guys? Did we have a dangerous situation this morning with the fog?
Oh, it wasn't this thick this morning.
Yeah.
It's gotten worse since we got
You see,
here.
this is why we're not first alert weather. This is why we're second. It takes us a minute to figure it out.
Exactly. 50 degrees this afternoon, by the way.
You want proactive weather, go to them. You want reactive weather, come to us.
Oh, it's foggy. Oh, okay.
Oh, okay.
We don't need to be first. We just need to be right.
40 degrees right now.
Yeah, amazing.
That's
It
warm.
feels like a heat wave coming through.
It does.
I didn't even wear a coat this morning, guys.
When I was a little kid, they taught us how to make a weather rock, and how it told you the weather was. Well, is the rock wet? Well, then it was raining. And we're essentially the weather rock of weather stations at this point, guys. Oh, is it foggy outside? Well, it's foggy.
So what was the question? Oh, it was chili. Okay.
Yeah, you go. You answered it. You're fine. We're just,
You're good.
Yes.
Where's our
I-
team?
Slow cooker chili. You know, if you work a real job, put chili in the slow cooker and just let it go all day.
There you go. Dear Uncle Randy, both our best man and maid of honor are dropping the ball when it comes to planning our respective parties and asking about the wedding. What should we do to get the ball rolling?
I would have a backup plan in place. Brooke is dealing with this at the moment. I think you're going to be successful. I would defer to Brooke here in regards to what to do in case somebody does indeed drop the ball. And, by the way, Michelle Smallman has had to be the person that picked the ball up after it was dropped before and had to plan a party. So it does. Maybe we need to get Michelle on the air too at some point.
So I'm guessing that based off of this, parties, so I'm guessing bachelor and bachelorette parties. Luckily, my maid of honor is doing a fantastic job. She's already booked everything, but she's also been a part of a lot of wedding parties, so I think that she's very advanced in this. Maybe slowly start sending them suggestions. That's what I've been doing with her, is just making it very collaborative, where I send her ideas. I'll even send her, I'll see something on TikTok, I'm like, we should try this out, and just making sure that everybody is constantly on the same page and having that timeline established so that you know, she knows, or that person knows, your groomsman knows that you have to stay on track and get all this done in a certain amount of time.
Would you entrust Uncle Randy to intercede with any of this?
Oh, yeah. I should have had you plan my bachelorette party, Randy. Where would we go?
Same place
What
you're
are we
going?
doing? Really? So you would out of
Be a
everywhere.
sporting event of some sort.
Yeah, you would have gone to more sporting events than you're going to.
I was wondering that because we're going to be in Scottsdale, Arizona, and I was wondering, can I convince my bridesmaid party to go and maybe see a Shohei Ohtani spring training game? Probably not.
Suns and Celts.
Yeah.
Durant against Tatum.
It's your day.
I don't want to put that through that. I think I'm the only one interested in
Swing
seeing
that club.
Yeah.
You got it in your bag. Use it, bro. Come on. This is my day, everybody. Here's what we're doing for my bachelorette party.
I think
Come
we'll
on.
still have fun
Yeah, you
either
will.
way.
It's like, yeah, exactly. Just, you can bring.
Not the woo girls. No, that's why we're getting away from Tennessee.
There's alcohol at the games. Dear Uncle Randy, I'm so nervous about my job. My supervisors say they believe in me, but my possible replacement, who is beloved, was recently hired. Also, I'm getting blamed for a suboptimal performance in 2023, poor communication skills, and questionable decision making. I think I may have been set up to fail in 2024. What is one to do?
Okay, if you're admitting poor communication skills and poor decision making, you don't get fired. You fire yourself. And if you're admitting here, and this is sports, Dan, right? It's no different. Coaches don't cut you. You cut yourself. If you're texting in and admitting,
You either do or you don't.
right? Either if you are an employee and you're worried about somebody looking over your shoulder, right? They just got hired. By the way, the person just got hired and they're beloved. Pretty interesting. But I would say that you need to take a look in the mirror and become a better employee if you're dealing with poor communication skills and bad decision making.
That's a tough Uncle Randy right there. But on point, Uncle Randy.
wrong.
No, you're on point right there, my man.
Yeah.
That person's very self-aware, at least.
Yeah, right.
But then it takes the actions afterwards of maybe working on the
They're saying
communication
they're
skills.
getting blamed for poor communication.
Oh.
Is that what they're saying?
I think I'm getting blamed for list starts, poor 2023 performance, lack of communication skills, and questionable decision making. I think they're trying to say that maybe they don't have that self-awareness, because I'm not saying they're a bad employee and they should have that self-awareness, but I think they're saying they're getting blamed for, and then it's a list of 3 things.
Oh, that's
maybe
a tougher
the
situation.
thing, rather than getting fired, maybe having that person promoted over you that is so beloved would be a good thing, because if you are doing everything right and it's still not working, then that's a them problem and not a you problem.
And also assuming, sometimes you're always going to assume the worst. So maybe that's what you think is going on. I don't know if they've had a
That's
conversation as well, but then maybe following up with that conversation with your manager, whoever is in charge, and saying, what can I do to make this place better? What do you need from me? And establish that communication more.
Dear Uncle Randy, you always said that the best Valentine's Day a wife can give is free. Does that work the other way around?
Theoretically.
Theoretically.
Yes.
And how's that theory work in practice?
Yeah, it does.
Okay.
Well, the percentage would say that percentages would say that the free gift from the female to the male is greater than the male to the female. It's just.
I agree with that.
Yeah, it's the.
You got to do something for that loved one. If you're the man in the relationship, I mean, show some kind of effort, like flowers,
right.
chocolates, night out, whatever.
Yeah.
It's got to be something.
Right.
Got to have some kind of effort.
Yep.
I think that's all it is. It's just the effort, just showing that you can do that. I know that I feel like a lot of the times when we see on the text line, people are expecting these big gifts that she would want that. And maybe she does, but if anything, I think just showing a kind gesture.
You would
means
appreciate
a
a
lot
bigger gift, though, wouldn't you?
I wouldn't say no. I wouldn't say no.
you guys all
But
said-
then I'll also like flowers. Like, I'll take it. It doesn't matter.
Guys also, it's all about the gesture, and then mentioned only things that cost money.
I mean, what? You don't expect a car on Valentine's Day? I just shouldn't get that? No.
What are you expecting for your Valentine's Day?
Nothing really. Maybe a nice dinner and flowers.
There you go.
That's it.
Good.
It's not even a real holiday, in my opinion. It's just kind of a nice,
Right.
sweetheart.
And there's
day.
kind of a quid
So it's
pro
not
quo
a
there.
real
It's you buy the nice gift and then you get the free gift back.
What are you going to get,
go.
Randy?
I don't know. I'm well past that day.
No, we are.
I'm doing a
We are well past that day.
Yeah, I'm doing a National Football Foundation luncheon on February 14th. That's
nice.
Oh,
Yeah.
convenient.
Yeah.
There you go.
So there we go.
Are you guys the ones in the aisles on the last day or on Valentine's Day, like
Yes.
trying to grab the last little bit of flowers left?
Of course.
Evidently. We got anything else, Matthew?
We got one for Aunt Brooke here. Recently, a woman moved in next door to me, and we had very minimal conversation, just neighborly chit chat. However, I find her very attractive. What's the play here? Should I ask her out? How long should I give it, or should I just let it? Be so that I don't creep her out? Don't talk to her.
Don't talk to her?
No, you don't ask women out in places where they can't, where they're going to feel like they're forced to say yes, so that they're not in an uncomfortable situation. You don't ask
That
women
is
out.
true.
You don't ask women
Okay.
out when they're at work. You don't ask a woman out when you live next to her because you're always going to be there and it's going to be awkward for her. Just let it die, man. It's not going to happen.
Well, he did say neighborly chit chat, so maybe the feelings
it,
could be
though.
a little bit mutual. I say maybe try, but just keep it a little simple, no pressure.
Right.
No pressure there. Just saying like, hey, do you ever want to go grab some coffee? Maybe just start something simple like that.
Slowly.
It could
Exactly,
be awkward,
slowly.
right? If
It could,
with
yes.
a neighborly situation.
Every time you walk out, you guys get.
Matthew, the question was for Brooke.
I know. I'm just throwing out my opinion because that's my thing. Is like if the question leads to you asking out a girl where like she's going to be in an awkward situation to say no, then don't do it.
The text line is undefeated, by the way. There
is.
are some interesting texts that are coming in.
Oh yeah, that's
It
one.
is.
This line is
Yeah.
completely undefeated.
So you heard what Matt said, and Rocc. I never call you Matt, but whatever. Rocc, I heard what he said there, and I do understand, especially it's just picking up social cues. If she is making it seem like she's interested, then just take it slowly, like Dan said. If she looks like she's running away from you every time, then don't do it.
Maybe ask for advice. Go to them and say, "Hey, I need some advice. Can we go grab coffee?" And it's just kind of a different way to go about it.
Yeah.
Yeah, maybe that's it.
There we go. Thank you, Matthew.
Thank you, Randy.
And thank you very much for your texts. The PGA show is underway down in Orlando, and the golf companies have cool stuff coming out, and the technology continues to roll in from Callaway. And we're going to talk to our friend David Kohlberg of Callaway next on 101 ESPN.
Hey everyone, it's Brooke here, and I want to tell you why I love the Missouri Athletic Club so much. This year I set up two really big goals for myself. One, to get back into the sport that I've played my entire life and I really love, and that is tennis, and also to get in great shape for my big wedding day coming up in June. Thanks to everyone at the Missouri Athletic Club. They're really helping me get off to such a great start. Even yesterday I went out and worked with Christine on my personal training journey, and she's been fantastic. I've been playing tennis with Scott, and that's why I love everyone over there at the Missouri Athletic Club. They've just been so kind and so helpful, making sure I get off to this great start. And that's why they always provide such a wonderful experience. And that's why I love the Missouri Athletic Club.
This is Rocky with your Sports Center update, driven by Johnny Londoff Chevrolet and Johnny Londoff Autoplex. Last night, the Blues with a big 4-3 win over the Calgary Flames. Brendan Saad with the game-winning goal at the end of the game there for the Blues. They are back in action, facing off against the Vancouver Canucks. Tonight, that is going to be another late game, a 9 p.m. puck drop over on the coast, and you can catch the pregame show right here on 101 ESPN starting at 8 p.m. Also in some news, yesterday, Texas A&M beat Missouri 63-57, and then on the NBA side of the basketball news, Adrian Griffin, head coach for the Milwaukee Bucks, was fired after their 30-13 start. That is your Sports Center update, driven by Johnny Londoff. Find your roads and shop 24/7 at londoff.com and londoffautoplex.com. Are you kidding me?
This is the time of year that all of the new golf equipment is unveiled down at the PGA Tour show the PGA show down in Orlando, Florida. And it's always amazing to me the technology that comes forth every single year. And David Kohlberg of Callaway is with us now on the Celebrity Line on 101 ESPN to talk about some of the new things coming out. David, it's always good to have you with us. How are you doing this morning?
I'm doing great. I am not in Orlando, unfortunately. I'm here in the same dreary Transylvania city that you are.
Well, we feel for you, and we feel for us. Okay, so last year, Callaway unveiled the Paradigm woods and irons, and this year, the Paradigm AI smoke woods and irons are out. And again, we talk about technology. What makes these different, and why are they different?
Well, yeah, it is the second generation of the Paradigm stuff. Ironically, we've been working with a technology called Jailbreak for 6 years, and the computer systems that we use are just so unbelievable at using data that the technology we were using for the last 6 years has actually been replaced. And so it really comes about. This is really the first time that AI technology has been paired with actual real player data. Generally speaking, the testing has been done with iron biring machines and such, and now it is being done with real player data. We get that from Topgolf. We get that from our testing sites, our player fittings, our tour player fittings, and the new AI smoke. As much as I say it all the time, like you guys, I'm in awe when I go to the sales meetings of what are we going to do next. And even the stickers, if the consumers go to the stores and they'll see a sticker right on the golf club that tells you how much better this driver is on every spot of the driver. It's actually got multiple sweet spots for the first time, if you can believe that. The computer system actually says we don't really need to emphasize the weight in the middle of the driver like the last 20 years. It's been really make sure the middle is good, and the rest of the driver should sort of trampoline itself out. And now the new driver has ultimately almost nearly like 10 or 11 different multiple sweet spots. So it's a crazy new technology that it's the first time I've ever seen anything like it.
Well, it seems like AI is a big theme of your display, because also on here is the AI one putter lineup. What is that able to do?
So putting is probably the biggest Achilles heel of every golfer. Even the guys on tour, if they make a mistake on Sunday and they drop from third place to fourth place, it's like $500,000, right? So as much as hitting a driver in the rough can be the same as a putt, for the consumer, we really just struggle with three putting all the time. And so this is the first time that our R&D guys have really said the problem with putting for the consumer is probably the same as it is for the driver. When we mishit a driver, the consumer understands, wow, I hit the driver off center, so it went crooked. They don't quite understand or put the same technology emphasis on putting. They think that when they leave a putt, consumers leave putts short or hit them long a lot. The biggest difference between tour players are from 25 or 30 feet, they are unbelievable at getting the ball, the first putt, close to the hole, and consumers are not. And that's really because we mishit putts. And none of the technology over the last, including our own, have really emphasized trying to make the putter be as consistent with ball speed as they are when we text and when we make drivers. So the technology is basically doing the exact same thing that we do for drivers, which means when the consumer has a 35-footer and they don't hit the ball perfectly in the middle of the putter, we got to make sure that miss hit comes off with the same ball speed that the solid hit does, so that their putt gets as close to the hole as possibly can, because we just aren't very good at the 6-footer. You know, we're much better at a 2-footer. Mm-hmm. So the AI technology is the entire putter insert tries to have the same ball speed across the entire insert, no matter where you hit it, just like we do with a driver for the first time.
David, at that show, how much of the rollback will be talked about, the rollback of the golf ball, and what you at Callaway are doing with that? Is that really is just around the corner? It's not that far away.
Yeah, I mean, it's obviously it's probably for discussions. I wish I was in those discussions, but you know, I would say it's probably going to change. If I had to bet, whatever the rule is or whatever the decision is now, 4 to 6 years from now, yeah, that's a pretty long time with rules sitting out there, with people debating them back and forth. I'm not sure exactly what's going to happen there. We feel unbelievably in a good spot. We've spent almost $100 million the last 5 years on the new ball plant. So whatever the ball specifications are going to have to be, or whatever the final decision is, we actually feel probably in the best position to attack the new rule to the best of our ability to help the golfer, you know, perform its best no matter what the ball restrictions may be at that time.
And, David, it is amazing how every year the balls get better, and that's another thing that AI can help out with. But why is this year's ball better, for example, than last year's?
Yeah, so we took a hard look at really, what we were able to do. And, again, I would say, since the middle of the pandemic, our new ball plant in Chicopee, Massachusetts, has been made available to basically do new technologies in the core. So we have, obviously, rubber cores, and as much as you would think that once you create one, it's pretty much done. We have developed with this new AI and the new ball plant what we believe is the fastest ball speeds ever in a tour golf ball, and the covers are completely different than they were before. For people who have played our black and silver box, the Chrome Soft LS and the Chrome Soft S and Chrome Soft in the past, these golf balls feel and perform so much softer around the green. And again, as a non-engineer, I wish I knew exactly how they do those things. But the ball has been changed in name to identify the fact that our two best golf balls are truly the two balls that are on tour. And so you'll hear about the new gold standard, the new Chrome Tour ball is in a gold box, and then the new Chrome Tour X is in a black box. And those two golf balls are really just dependent on what spin rate you feel like you need around the green. Most of Missouri plays in a Zoysia world, so most of the shots that consumers are making are helped a little bit. So you're just really, if you're a better player, you're choosing really between the two spin rates. And if you're a more average consumer, our new Chrome Soft red box, which people are very familiar with, it's probably still the ball that they should play if they're more of a general consumer.
Hey, David, one more item, and Jay Delson gets this question a lot on Friday mornings when he joins us here on the show, and people want to know how important it is to get fitted, and our partners at Golf Discount, they're annually Callaway's Fitters of the Year in the state of Missouri, but how important is it if somebody is getting new clubs this year to get fitted, especially with the way technology is?
Yeah, I mean, it'd be like, it's like anything else. I would say in golf, you just don't want to buy the wrong thing. And while we obviously, the websites are fabulously compared to what when I started with the company, there obviously wasn't websites you could go on and read things. So, you can do all of your pre-information gathering. By all means, the websites are great. The training aids are great. You can even look at some videos about how the product is made on the website. But you absolutely want to go and make sure, again, some golfers think they're not good enough to get fit. And I would just say to that end, it's even more important. I can go play with a lot of things and probably play okay. But for the person who's just average to a once or twice a week player, you absolutely want to go have somebody who knows what they're talking about and make sure you're not buying the wrong thing specifically. And then when you get it dialed in, when somebody actually is looking at you and we make 3 of everything essentially at Callaway. You want to make sure you buy the right one of the thing. We have 3 drivers. We have 3 sets of irons. It'd be silly not to go get fit and make sure you get the right stuff.
David, the technology is unbelievable. Always great to learn about it. We always love having you on the show to teach us about it. Thanks so much for the time, and enjoy your dreary St. Louis day as we will. Thank you. David Kohlberg with us on 101 ESPN.
Technology's incredible, isn't it?
It's amazing. And if you go and check out the new and really incredible, the simulators and the technology to fit clubs, they've got it at Golf Discount, Fallon and in South County. And that's where I buy all of my stuff, so that's what I know. But the technology for fitting is incredible and has made even my game, Dan, better.
Well, I can understand. I played with you this summer. You were outstanding. The simulators are so much fun. I mean, you can have parties. You can sit there with your buddies and get together and play on those. The technology on the simulator is amazing to me. Now, they haven't figured out the putting part of it, but everything else, you can play any course in the world if you want, and it makes it fun. Makes it fun to play.
Yeah, and by the way, Callaway is an owner of Topgolf, too. Yep. And so when he talks about getting technology and information from Topgolf, that's what he's talking about. Brooke, Dan, Randy, coming up, get your text into the Air Comfort Service text line for Take It or Leave It. The text line number 314-399-9646. 314-399 Yo-ho! Dan?
No, sir.
Share with the class.
I did one already.
All right.
One a day.
One? Just one?
No, I did one earlier.
We've got Take It or Leave It coming your way on 101 ESPN. Hey, there's a great event coming up from Schnucks. It's St. Louis Food and Wine, and it's presented by Schnucks. It's back February 2nd and 3rd at Union Station and features hundreds of wines, a selection of craft beers, and culinary delights around every single corner. It's one of the can't-miss events of the year. It's brought to you by Schnucks to benefit the Repertory Theater of St. Louis and Operation Food Search. Now, you have to be 21 or older to attend, but here's what you get. On February 2nd, 2024, from 7 to 10 p.m. It's the grand tasting event. Spend your evening sampling exceptional vintages from prominent domestic and international vendors, and feast on gourmet food in the beautifully designed Grand Hall at Union Station. Plus, a commemorative wine glass is included. And then on Saturday, between noon and 5, this is February 3rd, it's the main tasting event with a full day of sampling hundreds of wines and a variety of gourmet food offerings. Experience wine tastings from the world's premier growing regions. And again, a commemorative wine glass is included. For more information, visit schnooks.com/STL-Food-Wine and get your tickets today. Friday, February 2nd, Saturday, February 3rd at St. Louis Union Station. St. Louis Food and Wine, presented by Schnooks. The website for more information again, schnooks.com/STL-Food-Wine.
Time for Take It or Leave It.
Time for Take It or Leave It on 101 ESPN. Brooke Grimsley, Dan McLaughlin, Matthew Rocchio, Randy Carricker. Guys, I don't know if you saw this, but the Milwaukee Brewers have signed former Phillies first baseman Rhys Hoskins to a 2-year deal worth $34 million. But they still haven't replaced Brandon Woodruff. The Brewers have been right there with the Cardinals for the last several years. But take it or leave it, the Cardinals are better than the Brewers right now, even though they added Hoskins.
I will take that, even though I really do like Milwaukee's pitching, despite the fact that they have a couple of guys out. Back into their games are awfully good. Mm-hmm. Fangraphs came out yesterday. The Cardinals would have, by their projections, the 6th best record in the National League, which would be around 85, 86 wins, something like that. Might be a little aggressive because I think going outside the division now where you're not beating up on Central teams was more eye-popping for this club than maybe they anticipated. I really do believe that. I'm
going to take it as well with this. And I was actually, that was going to be my take it or leave it, Dan, was the Cardinals Fangraphs. No, you're fine, because I thought it was interesting that they're saying that the 6th best record, and of course this is just Fangraph projections, is going to be 85 and 77 for the Cardinals. So would you guys take that?
I will take that. I think they're going to be much better than they were a year ago, as long as they stay healthy. I think one of my main concerns going into this season would be the fact that they are an older pitching staff, and trying to get through a full season would be of concern for me.
That's why I'm going to leave it. That, and I really don't have total faith yet in whoever's going to throw the 9th inning for them. So I look at, and it's not too different, I look at them as an 81, 82 win team, but if all of a sudden Ryan Helsley is a lot better, if the guys who blew the 20 saves that are still on the team from last year all of a sudden turn that around, you could easily get to 85, 86 wins.
Isn't it amazing what the balanced schedule, so-called balanced schedule, did to the Cardinals last year?
Yep.
I mean, outside the division, it is tough. Okay, take it or leave it. Ichiro will join Mariano Rivera. We looked it up. Mariano Rivera, the only unanimous selection to baseball's Hall of Fame. Will Ichiro be Baseball Hall of Fame's second unanimous player to get in, and that'll be on the ballot next year.
Dan, I want to take it, but with what we were talking about earlier, it just seems like it's nearly impossible that happens. There's always going to be somebody or a couple of guys who want to not do that. So I might have to leave it just because of that.
I'm going to take it as well that he does not go in unanimously simply because of the people. And I can't believe Mariano did. But there's so many people out there that don't, not so many, but enough that don't believe any Hall of Famer should go in on the first ballot.
It's like a badge of honor.
It is. Yeah. It's a weird thing, honestly.
It is. Maybe... I'm trying to think why Rivera would get it, and he should be, by the way. Yeah. He should be a unanimous Hall of Famer, and why is he the only one? Maybe playing New York, all the postseason experience, being on the big stage, everybody saw him.
Jeter.
Jeter, same way.
Jeter?
Yeah, good point.
It's weird. All right, Matthew, what do you got on the old text line?
Take it or leave it. Even though Jordan Kyrou took most of the game off, you still love that 1 point per game.
Oh, I'll take it. Yep. He's a point-a-game guy. Plays a solid 200-foot game, eh? That'd be good. But, yeah, I'll take that. I'll take that goal last night.
Take it, yeah. He has 13 goals now on the season?
13.
Can you win a Stanley Cup with Jordan Kyrou?
You can.
He would have to be a second-line guy?
I was just about to say.
Yeah, you're not going to win because of him, but you can win with him.
I would agree.
I was about to make the caveat. Can you win with Jordan Kyrou on your first line?
No, I don't think you can.
Unless your second line is just the best defensive line in the entire league, and you just put them out there like to face off against the other team's top line. I don't think you can do it.
Yeah.
Even when you have an incredible Patrice Bergeron level defender like Robert Thomas on the same line as him, I don't think it works. Take it or leave it. The Blues will make the playoffs and keep Bannister next season.
Leave it.
I'm going to leave it.
I'm going to leave both.
I am going to leave both as well. I just think, does it feel like maybe, and this is nothing against Drew Bannister, I like what he's been able to do with this team so far, but do you think that they would go out and maybe get somebody with more head coaching experience?
I find it interesting how they've gone back and forth. So you had a guy like Drew Bannister. Prior to that, you had a hardline coach. Prior to that, it was a guy that was maybe not as much. It's gone back and forth, back and forth. And
gray hair bald.
I haven't thought of it that way, Randy, but good point. So I'm looking at more of like that hard edge coach to come in once they get through this period of the growth period with some of these younger players. And Snuggerud comes, some of the other guys that they like, they're going to be to the NHL. I think that's one of the things, if you're Doug Armstrong, that you're trying to balance, is that if I bring in a new coach, these guys, they run through them all the time. Would I rather them run through Drew Bannister with a learning curve of young players as opposed to not wasting, but having time spent with a different coach to where that may wear off?
Look at the team.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, the team the Blues are going to play tonight, Vancouver. Rick Tocchet, right? Rick Tocchet and Berube are the same guy. And there's going to be a shelf life for Rick Tocchet, and hopefully for Vancouver's sake, they can win with him. But I'm with you. I think that's probably the direction the Blues go is, and maybe Army goes outside the box and hires a college coach this time. I don't know. But I do think that person will be somebody who will hold individuals more accountable and not count on the leadership within the room to hold people accountable.
Take it or leave it, Joel Quenneville would be the perfect fit for the Blues. Obviously, there's a lot of off-ice issues that need to be rectified through the league and through Gary Bettman. I get that, and it's serious stuff. But would he, just as a coach, would he be the right guy?
As a coach, yes. Systematically, he's good as it gets. Maybe best ever. But is a 65-year-old Joel Quenneville going to be able to push the buttons to get a 24-year-old Jordan Kyrou to play hard on a regular basis?
I agree. The age thing is what concerns me there, because with Craig Berube, that's what it seems like, right, is that he wasn't able to connect with some of those younger players.
I think any head coach that they bring in will have a grace period to get the most out of players. It's just whether or not they can stay consistently with them playing at optimum performance.
Yeah, for me, it's the unofficial suspension that he got from the entire league. That has apparently not been pulled
Which is
away.
what we said. He's got to rectify that and go through Gary Bettman.
That's the big thing for me.
Yeah, he's got to go through Bettman. But I think that now they'll probably let him back in.
It's at some point, yes. Yeah. I do too.
But he has to ask. He has to ask Bettman for the meeting.
Take it or leave it. The Cardinals will steal more bases if Willie McGee was the first base coach.
I'm going to leave that.
What would Willie McGee as a first base coach have to do with them stealing bases?
I think they think that Willie is able just to say go. give the green light.
Overwrite the game plan.
This is a philosophical thing, and it's not just the Cardinals, it's baseball. People are so afraid to make an out by stealing bases. What allows you to steal bases is being aggressive, and that has to come from the top.
Also, you have to have a lead.
Yeah.
I mean, they were playing from behind so much last year, you're not going to steal bases. I think they were 2 more than they were the year before. Now, if they have leads in games this year and Tommy Edman is on base and Mason Wynn is on base and they're not stealing, then that's a problem. But if you're not down by 4, if you're down by 4, you're just not going to steal bases. You're going to have to sit back and wait and try to get back in the game to do that. You're not going to give away outs.
If you're down by 3, you get a guy on base and the opposing team, the pitcher-catcher combo is only throwing out 15% of runners.
Then go for it.
Yeah.
Yeah. This is down literally to the split second of what they can do from release time of a pitcher, how quick he is to the pitcher, the pop-up time of the catcher, his velocity to second base, the speed of your base runner, the lead that he takes. I mean, it is down to the split second. Mm-hmm. So there are times... like I thought Mike Schilt was so aggressive, and I loved it. And they were winning games, and they had leads, and they could push the envelope a little bit, where this last year they just couldn't do it.
No.
Take it or leave it. Don Mattingly and Dale Murphy belong in the Hall of Fame.
Take it.
Take it.
Both of them do.
Take it.
Absolutely.
Don Mattingly was the best hitter in the American League during the 80s, right? And he would have, if he wouldn't have had to retire because of the bad back, he would have put up even better numbers. But he and Keith Hernandez were the 2 best defensive first baseman of that decade. Keith was a little bit better. And Dale Murphy, not many guys have won 2 MVPs and aren't in the Hall of Fame. He converted from catcher to an excellent center fielder and was the centerpiece of that 82 division championship team. They never went to a World Series, but Dale Murphy was far and away the best player on that team.
I know this is comparing apples to oranges, but it's like, for me, if Lamar Jackson gets to a Super Bowl, he is a Hall of Famer. Mm-hmm. He gets 2 MVPs plus a Super Bowl. If he wins a Super Bowl, it's a slam dunk. Mm-hmm. Guys with 2 MVPs and don't get into the Hall of Fame, I find that a bit ridiculous.
Murphy and Maris, I think, are the only 2.
I think you're right.
Wow.
Yeah.
Randy, how long did Don deal with that bad back?
Well, about a week back.
No.
Yeah.
No.
I think I was just going to let that go?
Yeah.
No.
Thank you, Matthew.
Thank you, Randy.
Coming up here on 101 ESPN, how hot is the seat that Oli Marmol takes in the dugout this year? He said he needs to be better, and the team hasn't initiated extension talks yet. We'll give you our opinions next on 101 ESPN.
Hey everyone, it's Brooke here, and this year we decided it was time to make a major upgrade to our home by updating our bathroom. We have this house in U City. It's over 100 years old, and we absolutely love it, but we didn't love our main bathroom. This is really just the first time that we've ever done anything like this before, so we really weren't sure where to start. So we decided to reach out to one of our great sponsors here at 101 ESPN, and that is E&B Granite. E&B Granite's team came over to our house for a free consultation and sketched out a vision of how to really transform our bathroom. My favorite part of working with E&B Granite was stopping by their showroom to explore their large selection of in-stock custom countertops and cabinet options. They just have so many things to go through there. Jen was the one who was working with us, and she is fantastic. When we went, she already had a lot of great ideas for us that fit within our budget. Their friendly and experienced staff over there at E&B Granite has been turning visions into realities for over 20 years. Schedule your free consultation by calling 314-645-9300 or go online to embgranite.com or stop by their amazing showroom and see Jen. Make sure you mention that Brooke sent you.
Perspective on the day's top stories. It's the Opening Drive's Fresh Take.
It is 8:02 in St. Louis, 8:03 in 3, 2, 1. Woof. 8:03, your time check. Brought to you by Clarkson Jewelers, an officially licensed Rolex jeweler. Katie Wu has an interview with Oli Marmol up at The Athletic, and the headline is, "Pressure is on Oli Marmol as Cardinals approach 2024. Quote, reality is I needed to be better, unquote, talking about the 2023 season. He is heading into the last year of his contract. The Cardinals have said that they are, at this point, not talking about an extension for Oli Marmol. The beginning part of the season is a gauntlet for the Cardinals. So I think it's fair and reasonable to ask how hot that seat is for Oli Marmol at the beginning of the season.
I think that it is very hot. And for the reason that you pointed to just a little bit ago is that they haven't talked or they haven't done any extension talks with him yet. So I think this is a prove-it year for Oli Marmol. A lot more of the pieces are set in place. I'm assuming a lot of the decision with Daniel Descalso, that's a guy that he's familiar with, played with in the minors. That decision of bringing him in, making some other kind of small promotions internally when it came to the pitching staff. We talk about Kiefer and promoting him. And I think that this is a prove-it year for Oli Marmol. What can you do? And especially with the roster construction, you have Sonny Gray in place. You have Lance Lynn. We've talked about the veteran presence and bringing that in. That's all things that I'm assuming that Oli Marmol is on board with. So to me, the seat is really hot, and this is a prove-it year. And it should be, because after a performance like last season, it doesn't matter who the manager is. You're always going to be in a hot seat after that performance.
If he's on the hot seat, I look at fundamentals. And if this team is not better fundamentally, then yes, the hot seat is really hot. I give him credit to where, and I was with Oli on Friday night, we talked for a long time. He wanted Yadier Molina here. He wanted Albert Pujols here on his coaching staff, and wanted the guys that have had tons of experience to be around this club. And if that made them better, he wants them to be better. He wants Yadi to be around as much as Yadi wants to be around, and try to convince him to be there every day. But fundamentals, if they're not better in that regard, that will turn the heat up on a manager, especially as fundamentally poor as they were last year. Randy, you alluded to it. The first month, man, it's tough. You got a 7-game road trip to start the season with L.A., 4 there, then San Diego, Miami, Philly, Arizona, the A's, Milwaukee.
Thank goodness the A's are there.
Arizona again, Mets, and Detroit. So you're talking about a lot early on to be tested. And again, though, there's going to be some losses along the way in that first month. I just want to see if they're playing fundamentally better, because this whole roster has been revamped in a lot of ways, pitching-wise in particular.
I appreciate the accountability during this offseason that Oli Marmol has exhibited. He said, last year was a difficult year and you learn a lot about yourself. He said, it tested my character. It really did. It makes you sit back and really think through what went well, what didn't, and what I would do different. The reality is I needed to be better. Last year wasn't good enough, and our staff needs to be better, but that starts with me. I appreciate him saying that because I think most Cardinal fans agree with it. And one of the other things that Katie brought up in her piece, and Katie is she's embedded in that clubhouse. She's got a lot of knowledge, and she wrote that a common gripe with many players last season was that the staff lacked major league playing experience. I wonder how many of the Cardinal players, this is nothing against Dean Kiekefer, I wonder how many of the Cardinal players actually realize that Dean Kiekefer played in the major leagues with his 30 games. Daniel Descalso played in the majors and was a really nice player, but so was Joe McEwing. I mean, Joe McEwing was a nice bench player. Daniel Descalso played more than McEwing did. So I wonder if that's what they're talking about, if the players are talking about just having major league experience, or if they're talking about substantial major league experience, which they would have had Matt Holliday taken the bench coach job last year.
That's what I was going to say is remember that Matt Holliday was supposed to be there last season. Mm-hmm. And of course, that's no blame on him. We totally understand that family things happen, especially everything his son Jackson is doing amazing. It's going to be a huge player this coming year. But at the same time, I think bringing in, are you saying that you think that they should have brought in more outside help? Because this is very on brand with what they do, right? This whole theme of the offseason, bringing back former players, even with your coaching staff. Daniel Descalso, this will be a huge opportunity for him to have this coaching position or be your bench coach. Is this just kind of more about that you keep seeing these internal options rather than bringing somebody from outside the organization?
It appears that they're doing their best to establish the Cardinal way when you have a Lance Lynn on your staff. Kiekefer was around when the fundamentals of this team, pitching-wise, they were building game plans for pitchers, were at maybe not their zenith, but they were pretty good. And Descalso and the gang, I have no problems with the history from a teaching standpoint of these guys. I just wonder if, going back to the players complaining that there wasn't enough cachet, I guess, for lack of a better word, on the staff, if they wanted more.
Is it fair to judge Oli on the second half of last season?
No. Anything after July 31st, August 1st, no.
Yeah, I don't either. I mean, they had 28 different pitchers that they used. They used 52 total players last year on a 26-man roster. That's hard to win. You know, they sold off some really good pieces at the trade deadline, Montgomery, Hicks, some of the others that they had. So I don't think it's really fair, even though you look at the total body of work. I understand that, but I don't think it's totally fair to judge him on what happened in the second half of the season. I mean, you could have had Tony La Russa in there, and he's not going to win.
Right.
It was the players that he had at that point. So the players have changed. Now you feel like, okay, you've got a competitive team. You come in, and again, I'm going to reiterate this. If fundamentally they don't play sound baseball, then a lot of that goes on him and the coaching staff.
Well, and then with the first half of the season, this is something that I wrote down that I remember being a very bad moment, in my opinion, here. On April 9th, do you remember when the Cardinals were facing the Brewers, and it was Brendan Donovan? You know what I'm talking about, Randy?
I think so.
Yeah, Brendan Donovan that was there, and he had success against left-handed pitching, but instead Marmol opted to go with a right-handed bat, and his choice was Taylor Motter. Mm-hmm. And it didn't work out in that situation. So, but that is one example. Those are some mistakes that have happened along the way. I think that we saw Taylor Motter a little bit more than we would have liked to, but then there was also a lot of injuries that impacted. I think that's something that you also can't hold against Oli Marmol, is the fact that there were so many injuries, and roster construction-wise, I think that he was really restrained with what he could do.
And it appeared to me that one of the things the Cardinals wanted to do was emulate the Dodgers with the way they use platooning, when the Cardinals probably would have been better served emulating the Braves and playing their guys every day.
Gut is part of managing.
Yes.
However, now more than ever, the gut is taken away because of analytics. I found this really interesting. I went back and looked at it, and there are times, and I'm guilty of this, where I say, man, I would just love if they kept this starter in, or a bullpen guy. It only took 10 pitches to get through the inning. You know, the Cardinals stuck with their relievers or their starters the third most in baseball. That is shocking to me. I was blown away by that. And so they did try the gut, and at times it didn't work. To your point, Brooke, a lot of times and I'm not saying this was right or wrong. I mean, if I had the choice between Brendan Donovan and Taylor Motter, I don't care what the numbers are. I'm probably going with Brendan Donovan. But I'm just throw this out. I don't know if this was the case. It could have been a sinker baller on the mound. Taylor Motter has good numbers against, sinker ballers, and this guy throws in this portion of the zone, and Brendan Donovan doesn't hit it well. I mean, those things happen all the time. But, I just think sometimes when you look at this team and the way things were last year, nothing was going right. And when it went wrong, it just snowballed and everything stuck out like those kind of situations.
No, you had that conversation, as you mentioned, with Oli, and I think that sometimes the big perception is that, he doesn't make a lot of those decisions. Did you ever get a chance to chat with him about that recently, and if that's something, that perception, or if he will have more ability going into this season to use his gut?
Him.
Yeah.
Ultimately, it's on him. I mean, he's the manager, so yeah. I mean, it goes to him for sure. Win, lose, or draw, he's going to be the guy that people look towards in decision-making in the games.
The Cardinals are, let's just throw a number out there, 10-17 in their first 27, which is a really tough schedule. So he should get some leniency, I would think, when, as you mentioned, Dan, they're taking on Dodgers, Padres, Marlins, Phillies, D-backs, Brewers, Mets. If they're 10-17 at the end of April, does that?
It's really hot.
Poorly?
Yeah.
I would
really
think so.
hot.
I would think so.
Yeah.
With all they've done, with the investment that they've made in the pitching, and their apparent belief that they can get back to the playoffs with this team. I would agree with you. 10-17 is probably hot, and probably need to be 500.
Mo has been extremely patient in history with players and with managers, with coaches, all that stuff. I mean, he kind of takes that 1,000-foot view of his club instead of making just a knee-jerk reaction. Not saying it's right, not saying it's wrong, but typically that's what he does. I always go back to the 2004 season, 100-plus wins. In the first month of the season, they were 500.
Right.
Mm-hmm. They were 500. I think they were 16-16 or something like that. And all of a sudden, they got caught on fire and just rolled it the rest of the way.
And the issue I think that the Cardinals I would hope the Cardinals would have this year is if you get off to that start, it's on the heels of winning only 71 games.
Yeah.
And I know we throw out that the last 2 months you can't count, but if you win
recency
71,
bias. Yeah. I'm with you.
Yeah, we also saw how quickly, remember last year, April, things got out of hand quickly, and it felt like they really just struggled to recover after that. So I wonder if you see that from last season, you know that you can't do that again this season.
So ultimately, I think we all agree that when the Cardinals open the season on March 28th at L.A., the seat will be a little bit warm. He needs to do some Oli has to have his players do good things for him early on.
And by all accounts, he said that.
Yeah.
And one of the things I'll go to is that you got to point to the players.
Yes.
The players need to take responsibility with this, too. Paul Goldschmidt needs to be Goldie. Arenado needs to get off to a good start. You give Mason Wynn, some leeway because he's only had 130 some odd at bats in the season. Tommy Edman has got to be there. Wilson Contreras has got to be better behind the plate. Jordan Walker, you hope he makes that next step. Brendan Donovan wants to be a leader. The leadership is done by playing too. So your players have to take responsibility with this as well. It's always the manager that is the fall guy, but he can do so much where players need to put up numbers as well.
It's up to them for the execution part. He can't go out there and do that. He can't do every single thing for him. I think that I understand too with the kind of the pessimism going into the season from some of the fan base, because it's like when you were just listening to things there, you need Tommy Edman to do this. You need Nolan to do this. Last season, it's like we saw every single worst case scenario play out. So now you have all those concerns where maybe you weren't thinking about it as much as before, if Nolan will be able to get off to a great start or not. But then you saw all that happen last year.
Yeah. Since the playoffs expanded to 3 wild card teams, the National League's 6 wildcard qualifiers have averaged 89 wins. Cardinals are projected at 86, so right on the cusp of maybe being a playoff team.
And they're pretty adamant from top to bottom about saying not making the playoffs isn't good enough.
You're right. That's the expectations here, for sure.
Is. That's Dan. That's Brooke. I'm Randy. And that's today's Fresh Take on 101 ESPN. Coming up, the Blues have a best player on their team that you probably didn't think was going to be that guy. That's next on 101 ESPN. If you are serious about selling your home, take it from me and call Gloria Liu, owner of Your Home Sold Guaranteed Realty, and ask Gloria about her multiple cash offers program. You will get multiple cash offers quickly and eliminate the hassles of open houses and costly repairs and time on the market. With Gloria, you have options and you can choose the best cash offer. It really is a cool thing to have, and Gloria already has thousands of ready buyers from over 20 years in her business, buyers that are in an exclusive database that are looking to buy in your neighborhood and in your price range. That's how Gloria nets you the most money and creates the highest demand, many times with multiple offers, and that means more money in your pocket. Gloria sells for more money and sells faster when compared to your average agent. And she's not your average agent. She's the best in town. She's St. Louis local real estate authority with 20 years of experience, hundreds of homes sold in just the past 12 months alone. She's the only agent I'd trust to sell my home. It's Gloria Liu. Her number is 314-325-6888. Gloria Liu, 314-325-6888. Or visit GloriaHasTheBuyers.com.
He was so good in the 2019 playoff run, paired with Jay Bouwmeester, and quite honestly, I think he's playing at a level above that. That's how good he is. To me, right now in the NHL, there aren't many right-handed shooting defenseman. I don't want to call him a shutdown defenseman because the guy has 8 goals, and he kills penalties. He was on the power play a little bit for a few weeks, so he's not just a shutdown defenseman. But I would, if I had to characterize him as a free zone or overall defenseman, whatever you want to say. There aren't many better in the league right now.
That's the TV voice of the Blues, John Kelly, with us yesterday here on 101 ESPN, talking about Colton Parayko, who this year is healthy. He's averaged 23 minutes and 43 seconds of ice time a game, going against the other team's top line, and 23-43 is tops on the Blues. He has 8 goals and 9 assists for 17 points now. And when we talk about being a shutdown defenseman, the number 2 shot blocker on the Blues is Justin Falk with 77 blocked shots this year. Parayko has 114.
Wow.
114, and the number 2 guy has 77. He has turned into, this year, and the guy, that the Blues thought that they were going to get when they let Alex Pietrangelo go, but he's also turned into the Blues' most indispensable player.
I think the key is what you said there, is that he's healthy going into the season. I think that we've seen in recent years Colton Parayko battling with various injuries, and now we're getting the fully healthy version of Parayko. I felt like towards the end, the second half of last season, you were starting to see this, and you were hoping that he would be able to carry that over into the season, and he has. He looks really, really good. Last night specifically, when you were talking about the hits and block shots, 4 hits, 4 block shots for him last night. He is absolutely everywhere.
And he used the F word on a guy. Did you see that?
Oh.
He got mad at a guy.
Yeah, I saw that. I
Me
liked
too.
that because
Yeah.
he was sticking up for Jordan Binnington in that situation.
Yep, he was, yeah.
I wonder how many teams are going to be calling the Blues about Colton Parayko. He does have a no-trade clause, so he can invoke that and stay in St. Louis, but I also wonder how banged up he's been the last couple of years, because he looks like a different player. He can always skate. He's a great skater. He's got great tools in terms of what you just documented there, Randy, and some of the things that he does. But, man, oh, man, does he look like a different player this year.
And here's the thing. He's 30, and this is the second year of an 8-year contract. This is the second effective year of it. If you're Doug Armstrong and you plan on having a window to win a Stanley Cup over the next 7 years, are you going to find a guy that gets into his prime in those 7 years that's as good as Parayko is? If you trade him for a number 1 pick, are you going to find a guy that can do what he does?
No, and that's why when teams are calling around asking for Colton Parayko, you hang up.
I think so.
That's what you have to do. Because I just don't think, in my opinion, that there is anything that you should part with him with. Of course, the back end of that contract is not going to be pretty. It never is. But what you're getting right here in that front end, I think that that's really important to your window of success.
And one of the things that we saw with both Al McInnes and Chris Pronger is that they were both such smooth skaters. They were playing effectively at the age of 38 until they got hurt. Al with the eye and Prongs with the concussions. He's a guy that I think could play effectively till the end of the contract if, and this is a big key, if he's healthy and if the back is okay, if he doesn't wind up with, I don't know, Matthew, how long do you think that we'll have to wait before we see it?
Don't do it.
About a week back.
No.
Do you guys agree with me that because of his stride and because it's kind of like walking
just smooth, man?
It's like walking a golden retriever versus walking a Shih Tzu. There's Shih Tzus have to take 10,000 steps. Torrey Krug is the Shih Tzu, and
I knew that's where you were going with that, Randy. I knew that's where you were going. Don't call him a Shih Tzu.
I can't. The other part, I just can't say. And then Parayko is kind of like the Golden. He's got the longer stride, so he's not going to be as worn out after a game as a guy with little shorter legs is going to.
You start so well in the segment. I got to tell you, you start, with a solid look at Colton Parayko, and then it turns into this.
Well, I'm just trying to make the point that he's got that long stride. Which
I know what you're trying to do.
The well-being of a defenseman.
I was looking at the Blues the other day. They are 28th in goals for, 18th in goals against, 28th in the power play, 22nd in the penalty kill.
Making progress in the power play, though.
Man, I was saying to myself, I was like, this is why they are where they're at. And maybe it's better than what you thought when you look at some of the stats that I just mentioned, because they're in the middle of the pack and have a chance to get to the playoffs. You don't get there, though, without, I was thinking this, you don't get there if you trade Colton Parayko. I truly believe that. He's that much of a piece to this puzzle of 2024 that gets you to the playoffs potentially. It's going to be a tough road to get there, but if you do, Colton Parayko is a big piece of it.
He is, and I believe Jordan Binnington as well. That was the whole reason that they were even able to stay in the game. If you heard the postgame last night, who is Colton Parayko talking about? The reason why they were able to stay in that game and win. He's talking about Jordan Binnington.
They say it a lot now this year. It was like how he played on Saturday and get the shutout, and how he played last night. And he's really, Brooke, in my mind, if they're going to go to the playoffs, he has to steal you wins, because they're just not. When you match up against other teams, they're just not there.
Yeah.
But one guy can steal you the game, and that's the goalie. And when he's been doing that, they have a chance to win these games and get in the playoffs.
So let's just keep Colton Parayko healthy and keep him going.
No doubt.
Let him be one of the leaders for the future of this team. And JR, if you hadn't read his piece at The Athletic about the two centerpiece guys, Thomas and Parayko, JR is right on with those.
100%. By the way, is he the longest, speaking of Parayko, is he the longest tenured St. Louis sports athlete?
He is.
Yes.
Yeah, it's amazing.
Oh, yeah, St. Louis sports athlete.
Oh,
Yeah.
I didn't even think about St.
He
Louis
would be,
sports
yeah.
athlete. Yeah.
How about that? Yeah, that's a good stat.
Wow, things have changed so quickly.
They really have.
Years. The COVID years really accelerated that.
Yeah, and the Blues are up to 18 power play goals, so they aren't going to wind up with more shorthanded goals. They scored their 11th last night than power play goals, and that's a positive, I guess.
Oh, well, the positive on special teams is going to be your penalty kill. I mean, they went 3 for 3 on the PK last night. I feel like that was a big part of why they were able to rally back in the third period.
Yep.
St. Louis sports athlete, longest tenured, Colton Parayko. Trying to think, because I was going through this in my mind, and I was like, well, Goldschmidt's been here. No, Parayko. No. He's the guy.
Yeah.
Crazy.
Good for him.
It is.
Crazy.
Wow, amazing. Coming up next year on 101 ESPN, we've got the fight. Matthew, do we need a fighter?
Yeah, you won again.
Okay. So if you'd like to fight, all you need to do is text in to the Air Comfort Service text line, 314-399-9646, 314-399.
Yo, Dan moved away the mic.
Your name and the word fight, and we will hear perhaps from you next on 101 ESPN. Hey, if you're in the market for a new vehicle and maybe you've had some trouble with your credit, you need to go to autoloanpro.com. And the first thing you do, right at the top, you see the little tab that says click to download the game plan playbook. And that'll tell you everything you need to know about getting a loan for a new vehicle. And if you want to shop for an Acura or a Honda, you can, or pick up a used vehicle at Auto Loan Pro. But wherever you're going, get your loan first at autoloanpro.com. They're working with over 50 lenders to make sure that you get the best rate and the lowest payment for your vehicle, so that you don't get stuck with maybe $50 extra a month that you would have had you just gone into the dealership and said, yeah, I'll just take whatever you have. Autoloanpro.com is trying to do everything they can to make sure that you get that loan. And as a matter of fact, if you can make payments, they will get you a loan. All you need to do is go to the website, autoloanpro.com, download the game plan playbook, and you will love working with them. They make it easy, and you're going to get a great deal on your loan from autoloanpro.com.
This is Rocky with your Sports Center update brought to you by Saliga Heating and Cooling. The Blues last night with a big 4-3 victory over the Calgary Flames thanks to a Brendan Saad game-winning goal in the third. They'll face off against the Vancouver Canucks tonight. It's a late game as they're on the coast. 9 p.m. puck drop means you can catch the pregame show right here on 101 ESPN starting at 8 p.m. In other news in the NBA, the Milwaukee Bucks, one of the top teams in the East, sitting at 30-13, have fired their head coach, Adrian Griffin. There are reports right now that they are talking to Doc Rivers about potentially stepping in to the role. That is your Sports Center update brought to you by Saliga Heating and Cooling, an independent American Standard heating and air conditioning dealer.
Welcome back to the opening drive. Brooke Grimsley here alongside Danny Mac, Randy Carricker, and Matthew Rocchio, and it is now time for the fight. Our fighter today is Tyler. Tyler, how are you doing?
I'm doing well. How are you guys this morning?
Good. It sounds like you're driving. Are you driving in this fog right now? Are you doing okay through it?
I'm doing all right through it. As my youngest would say, it's very froggy out this morning.
It is very, very froggy out this morning. Are you ready to take on Randy in the fight, Tyler?
I am. Hopefully I can do some damage, as it sounds like Matthew's a little fed up with the streak Randy's been on.
Oh, yeah. This has been quite a dominant streak for Randy. I know that it got broken last week, but he is very determined to get back on track. Wouldn't you say, Dan?
Oh, yeah. Let's do it. Let's get Tyler that win, that W, and put Randy in a bad mood for the next hour and a half. Because that's what happens. If he wins, or I'm sorry, if he loses, the mood shifts here in the studio.
Does.
So I'm pulling for you, Tyler. Let's put him in a bad mood.
Let's do it.
All right, question number 1, Tyler. Who is the Blues' all-time points per game leader with 1.5 points per game? Is it Brett Hull, Adam Oates, or Craig Janney?
It's a tough one. I'm going to go... I think Hull's the obvious one, but I'm going to go with Adam Oates.
Okay, question 2. Joe Mauer is the only American League catcher to win a batting title and the first in Major League Baseball since the 1940s. How many did he win?
I think he won 2.
1, 2, or 3?
I'm going to go with 2.
Okay.
Back in 2012, this Rams wide receiver set a rookie record with 5 consecutive games with a 50-plus yard catch. Who is it? Is it Chris Givens, Donnie Avery, or Sebden Bailey?
What year was that?
2012.
2012. I think I'm going to go Chris Givens. I know he had an explosive stretch somewhere in there.
Was that your final answer, Tyler?
Yeah, that'll be my final answer.
Okay, question 4. The Oilers won their 14th straight game last night. They're now officially in the hunt for the NHL record of 17 straight. Which franchise holds that record, setting it back in the 1992-93 season? Was it the Pittsburgh Penguins, the New York Rangers, or the Montreal Canadiens?
Of course, you give me all the big teams. You said in 92?
The 92-93 season.
Okay, so yeah, I remember that. I was 2 or 3 there, so that makes sense. I'll go with the Canadians. I feel like they have a ton of records. So
one of the original 6. You can't go wrong with an original 6, but we'll see if it works out today. All right, we're getting in, Randy, from the code of silence, if you will. Randy, during this little break, enjoy some grapes and good times with fellow coworkers.
He
and,
does.
Oh, yeah, always a smile on his face.
Pepper.
And a Dr. Pepper.
Hi,
Maybe he
guys.
checks his phone, for any messages that may come his way, but he's locked into the show at all times.
Yes, sir. I'm locked in.
Always ready to go.
I'm doing great. Say good morning to Tyler, please.
Tyler, good morning. How are you?
I'm good. How are you this morning, Randy?
I'm doing great. Thank you so much for listening. Thanks for playing. We do appreciate it.
You ready for the first question, Randy?
I guess I am.
Okay. Who is the Blues' all-time points per game leader with 1.5 points per game?
That would be one Adam Oates.
Oates?
He was pretty darn prolific. Whew, he was a good player. Shouldn't have traded him, as it turns out.
Yeah, probably not. Joe Mauer is the only AL catcher to win a batting title and the first in Major League Baseball since the 40s. How many did he win?
Did Joe Mauer win?
Correct.
He won a couple. He won 2, baby.
Back in 2012, this Rams wide receiver set a rookie record with 5 consecutive games with a 50-plus yard catch.
So it was pretty funny because we had him on the show weekly. He wore number 13, which I thought was ridiculous. And he was a 5th-round draft choice that was driving around a white, I believe, Lamborghini, if I'm not mistaken. 5th-round draft choice that was driving around a white Lamborghini. I didn't think that was the most logical use of funds for a young football player. His name is Chris Givens. Chris Givens is the player that had 5 straight games with a 50-yard, I believe, 50-yard catch. And remember the fast lane, too. Nice guy. Don't know whatever happened to him. Don't know whatever happened to Lamborghini.
The Oilers won their 14th straight game last night and now are officially in the hunt for the NHL record of 17 straight. Which franchise holds that record, setting it back in 1992-93?
92-93. Didn't Joe Vitale say that his Penguins, with the story, the story that he told about Sidney Crosby, didn't he say they won 17 in a row? Thought he did.
We can't answer that question.
Oh, I think he did. But I don't think Joey was playing at that time. That's why I'm asking the question. So I will still go Pittsburgh Penguins because the Penguins were good at that time with Mario Lemieux. So I will go with Dan, the Pittsburgh Penguins.
The Pittsburgh Penguins of the early 90s.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
They were good.
Thank you, Randy.
You're welcome, sir.
Matthew.
All right, Tyler tries to come in here and take down Randy Carricker for just the second time in the year 2024. Does he do it, or does Mega Mind roll on with another victory? Ring that bell.
The winner and still champion of the fight, Randy Carricker.
Well, Tyler, I'm sorry to say Randy Carricker got you by 1 question today. You got close, but not close enough.
It was a valiant effort.
There you go.
Went after it. That, again, hockey question was a little before I was watching the games.
That'll happen. Let's go through those questions and go through those answers. Who is the Blues' all-time points per game leader with 1.5 points per game? It is, in fact, Adam Oates. Those assists count the same as goals. Oates, by the way, 1.47 points per game. Hully, 1.26. Craig Janney, 1.25.
Yeah.
Right there with Brett Hull in points per game in their Blues career. Joe Mauer, the only AL catcher to win a batting title in the first in the MLBs since the 1940s. You both said 2, and this is where this question's interesting. If you go just,
I'm confused on this question.
If you call batting titles just being the MLB leader, Joe Mauer has 2. But if batting titles are leading your league, Joe Mauer has 3. You both answered 2. I was looking for 3 because he led the AL 3 times. He led the Major League Baseball 2 times. The differentiation there is 2008. He did not lead Major League Baseball. He did lead the AL. So Baseball Reference lists him as 3 batting titles. But you both answered 2. So this is either a 4-3 win for Randy or a 3-2 win for Randy.
Like
whichever
4.
way you want to look at it. So we'll call it a 4-3 win for
4.
Randy. So good job, Tyler. You got 3 today, and Randy beat you 4-3. So let's keep going, rolling through. Back in 2012, it was in fact Chris Givens, 5 straight games with a 50-plus yard catch, and he turned out to be a really great receiver long term, right?
Oh, he was one. He went to Baltimore with his Lamborghini, I'm sure, and Caught a lot of balls.
Good investment for him. And the Oilers just won their 14th straight game last night, 4-1, and now they are officially in the hunt for the NHL record of 17. It was, in fact, the Pittsburgh Penguins back in the day, 92-93, when they would go on to, I think they won the Cup the year before that. Then they pulled off the 17 straight the very next year. The the Canadians went on to actually win the Cup in the 93 playoffs. So a 4-3 win. We're calling it for Randy Carricker in the fight today. Tyler, thank you so much for joining the show and joining the fight.
Awesome. It was fun. I appreciate it, guys.
Thank you, Tyler. Great to have you with us.
Some of the names on the 92-93 team for the Penguins.
Jagger?
Mario Lemieux, Kevin Stevens, Rick Tocchet, Ron Francis, Yager, Larry Murphy, Joe Mullen, Ulf Samuelsson, and their goalie was Tom Barrasso, who was incredible that year. The backup was Ken Reggett. Remember Kenny Reggett? He was good goalie, too. But
Barrasso's career ended with the Blues.
That's right.
And the Blues could have had Ulfie Samuelsson and Ronnie Francis.
That's correct.
Wow.
But Ron Caron decided that he didn't want to go there.
The meat is on the burner.
Not great.
No.
It would have made a difference. Better than getting and Butchie was great, but it would have been nice to get that other center.
Sure.
Would have been great. So there's the fight on 101 ESPN. Coming up, why is the NFL so compelling and why do so many people love it? We'll answer that question for you next on 101 ESPN.
Hey, it's Danny Mac for Stewart's American Mortgage. We were together yesterday after the show. We were cutting some spots that you'll be hearing for the next couple of months, but now we get them live on the phone. There's nothing like that, a live Stewie. So how do you compare to other lenders out there right now, Stewart?
You know, Dan, this is the biggest challenge people have. They don't know how to compare lenders. They go to the real estate agent. The real estate agent says, go to my guy. They're afraid to compare because they just don't know how to do it. So we're going to give you some pointers. Number one, and the most important thing, look at the APR. Don't look at the rate. Look at the annual percentage rate. Ask them what it is, because what the annual percentage rate does is it factors in all the fees and everything combined to give you your true cost of money. This way, if you're getting a rate of 6.5%, your APR is 7.5%, but somebody's willing to give you 7% with no APR difference, you're better off with the 7% with no difference. So you got to look at the APR. Don't look at the mortgage rate. That's going to tell you the true story.
That is Stewie from Stewart's American Mortgage. Now, here is his cell phone. That's right, I said cell phone. You can just call him right now. Number to call, 314-324-4440. 314-324-4440. Or you can Google, as always, the Bagel Loan.
NMLS number 226715.
Divisional round averaged 40 million viewers, the highest on record dating back to 1988. The 40 million average viewers for the 4 games was up 7% over last year and up 5% versus a prior record in 21-22. In total, 126.7 million viewers tuned in for the divisional round. The Saturday primetime game on Fox between the Packers and Niners averaged 37.5 million viewers, the most watched Saturday NFL playoff game ever. The Sunday primetime game between the Chiefs and Bills averaged 50.4 million viewers, the most watched divisional or wild card game on record. The NFL, we know, is a business of scoundrels. It's a cartel. We know what they are. But even the most hateful person of the NFL has to admit that for some reason, the games are compelling enough to set these sorts of records. Why? Why is the NFL more powerful now than it's ever been?
Fantasy football, I think, has a lot to do with it. I love playing fantasy football, and it's made me pay attention to teams that I have really never cared about before. We were talking about that yesterday, remember, where it was like, what team do you not really care about? Forgot to mention the Panthers, and rightfully so, because they were not that good this season. But I think that that's a big part of it. Gambling being more legalized in other states, that gets people more involved.
Bingo.
But also the personalities.
Not bingo, but I mean...
Yes, I get what you're saying. Yeah, the personalities and just letting them fly. And the biggest thing, in my opinion, is they are PR masters. They are so good, and they really embrace the fact that even bad press is good press, because then people are constantly talking about you. Even during that time, the way that they're able to kind of bury things too. When the St. Louis Rams were leaving town here, the timing of that, when they were announcing the leave, kind of helped bury everything that was going on here in St. Louis.
It was during
explain
the
what it
playoffs.
was. Yeah.
It was January 12th. Yeah.
And that's what I'm saying. They are PR masters. They really know how to manipulate things, and then they just know how to put a good product out there. And they make their big games their big games. So PR marketing, I think, is a huge part of it, along with gambling and fantasy.
I think gambling is number one, becoming more prevalent throughout our country, and pretty much every state you can gamble in. Fantasy football. So in 2008, it was the first app in which you could use to get on and play fantasy football. So 2008, now those kids are 15 years older. You're getting into that prime time of your life where you'll sit down and watch television. And I think you garnered so many new fans of the game by using fantasy football to get them in, to get them involved, to get them interested. So that was in 2008. To Brooks' point, I think they're just very smart in how they do various things in terms of the flex schedule, adding a Thursday night game. So you're center stage Sunday, Monday night, Thursday night, I think that's important. And then Red Zone. I think the addition of Red Zone, where you can just sit down, you're commercial free, and you're watching all these games. If you're gambling or you're on fantasy football, all of that combined together, I think, has made them so popular and why these numbers are on the rise.
And I think a big part of this, Dan, is one of the things you brought up, prime time. When the Rams were in the Super Bowl, both times, the games were not in prime time.
Isn't that amazing?
Yeah, it was a noon game and a 3 o'clock game, just like they did during the regular season. Then in the middle of the last decade, they started running games in prime time. So this weekend, your two prime time games are 49ers over the Packers 24-21 in a really good game with big stars. You had the Packers, who are one of the more followed teams, one of the iconic franchises with huge fan base. And then you have the Chiefs and the Bills, two franchises with huge fan bases on Sunday night, and that's a 27-24 game. So you have competitive games when more people are inclined to watch television, and that's going to set records for you. It's just going to be that way. The script is perfect.
Oh, the script. And it continues to work out in that way, right?
Yeah.
And you tune in every single week. It is literally the best reality TV, the theatrics that surround every single game. There's a million different storylines that you just get hooked to. And I thought this was interesting from the 314, because we're talking about this transition of cutting the cord and streaming. From the 314, they said if the Chiefs game got $50 million last week, a week before got $20 million on Peacock, would they have gotten more on a better network? So specifically, I'm assuming they're talking about Peacock there.
They would have got more viewers, but they probably wouldn't have gotten more than $110 million for that singular game, because that's what happens in those early games. ESPN used to pay $100 million. Now Peacock is paying $110 million. And at the end of the day, the NFL isn't really as concerned about viewers as it is about cash.
Yeah.
Right?
Was it really worth it, though, Randy? I mean, as much money is coming in, you're splitting it amongst the teams, $110 million. I mean, $110 million, I know that's an enormous amount of money, but in the scheme of things with them, is it really worth it to upset your customer?
Here's why it is. It was the most streamed event in history. The most viewers for any streamed event ever. And so what the NFL is going to do is they're going to go to all the streaming entities. Netflix, they just spent $5 billion on wrestling, right?
Yes.
You've got Netflix, you've got Amazon, who's already in the game. You've got NBC with Peacock. You've got CBS with Paramount. So the NFL is going to go to all of these entities and say, if you want to build up your platform, all you have to do is pay us $150 million. That'll be next year. All you have to do is pay us $200 million. The year after that, all you have to do is pay us $250 million. And all of these entities will be able to enhance the number of viewers to their product because they have the NFL.
I think another part of this, too, is a cap league and parity. So the Green Bay Packers can go up against L.A. and still have a chance to win these games. And that's not in baseball. You know, you've got the Dodgers spending over $1 billion in an industry that has a lot of money coming into it. But there's not parity, and that's a problem.
And look at it from this perspective. The Giants and the Jets have both been bad for a long time. The Bears have been pretty bad for a long time.
New York, Chicago.
L.A., aside from that little run by the Rams, they've been mediocre. The Chargers have been pretty bad. So the biggest market teams, to your point, Dan, aren't able to go out and buy players like the Dodgers and Angels or like the Yankees and Mets or like the Cubs and White Sox. You can't do that in the NFL. You have to be smart.
I think it keeps teams and ownerships fair and honest, because you see that in Major League Baseball, right? Where, of course, I like the Players Association with Major League Baseball is so powerful and it's getting their players paid. But then without having that salary floor, then you have some teams who are really not doing what they should be doing spending-wise and not putting a competitive product out there.
I think another part... Oh, go ahead, Randy.
Did you just use the word honest with the NFL?
I'm saying keeps them honest and fair when it comes to spending with the salary cap and the floor. Everything else, yes.
Another part is ESPN. You turn on SportsCenter and you're going to see in a half-hour show probably 15 minutes of it dedicated to the NFL in May.
Yeah.
I mean, it's on constantly to interest you as a fan, whether it be the draft or free agency, obviously training camps. Once that fires up, that is front and center for the sports fan that's out there.
And people might be out there saying, but Dan, everybody's cut the cord. Nobody watches ESPN now. Do you know what the number one sports streaming app is? It's ESPN Plus.
Yep.
It
and
is.
they set records for viewership every single month.
And think about what's on that, too. It's all kinds of football content.
It is. And that's what I'm saying is they let the personalities just really roll in the NFL. So for the other professional leagues out there, what could they take away from this? Of course, there's a huge difference. Money-wise, we're talking about a huge difference. But still, what can Major League Baseball take away from the NFL? What can even MLS take away? What can hockey take away from it?
Listen to Anthony Rendon. And only have one game a week.
Now, we talked about how much shorter the games have gotten because of the pitch clock and that change. Is that still not enough?
It's a regional sport. That's the other part I look at it too. The national pastime, whether you like it or not, it's the NFL and it's football, and it's to what Randy said, you're playing one time a week.
And it's the only national sport now. Everything else, all due respect to the NBA, it's a market sport. NHL is definitely a market sport. Baseball is definitely a market sport. The only sport where people will tune in on a Thursday night to see Jacksonville against Tennessee is the NFL.
Right.
If you have, well, all you have to do is look at what happened with Apple. I don't know what sort of viewership Apple had for baseball, but I can guarantee it's not that big. Even if you have two iconic franchises and a guy going for 700 home runs in Albert Pujols, I'm betting you that they didn't have 1% of a typical Thursday night on Apple. They didn't have 1% of a typical Thursday night NFL viewership.
Don't you think the model right now is Apple in what the MLS did? I think that's kind of where everything's going to go eventually with these regionalized sports networks, is that you're going to have to go and get it a la carte if that's what you want.
And it's globalized.
Right. That's the other part.
If you are in London and you want to, where's Messi from? Spain?
Argentina.
If you're in Argentina or any where Messi has played and you want to watch him play in MLS.
That would be messy for most people.
Oh, okay. But you can. You can watch him on Apple because it's global.
Yeah, that's a good point.
And that's where the rest of sports needs to go, is they need to globalize. And the NFL, I think, is the prime example for this because it is such an easy sport to gamble on. Still has a level of violence that I think people enjoy. So I don't think the NFL is going anywhere.
No, it's not. Well, my only issue, and maybe this, I don't know if it was just more scheduling of anything that I had with Apple, is the timing of the games. Like some of those late night games were a little too late for me. And I'm talking about even the ones that were at home. Of course, when you go West Coast, you know that's what you're getting. But I didn't really understand some of the late start times here
like
at home.
The playoff game.
Yes.
That was the perfect example for me. It was way too late.
Yeah, I'm with you. I mean, you do that sometimes. You could see Gary Bettman screwing it up. I don't see the soccer don screwing that up. I don't know why he did.
I didn't understand it. It didn't make any sense, especially for the local market.
See, and that's kind of one of the jobs that a commissioner should have, is when you have a team, and this has happened to the Cardinals in the playoffs too. Like, didn't we have a 10:30 local start one time for a Cardinal game in Arizona or something like that?
Well, there's 10:30 morning games.
Yeah, on NBC.
Yeah.
If you are a commissioner of a sport and a team is scheduled to start at 9:30 local time, when you see that, you have to go to your people and say, no. I don't care about TV. This is about our fans, and we can't start a game at 9:30 local time. No. We are not doing this.
Can you imagine some of the kids with Boston, if you're a Red Sox fan over the last 2 decades or a Yankees fan, where those games on the East Coast are ending at midnight? That's stupid. Yeah. You're not appealing to your local fan base at all. You're just kowtowing to television,
right. And
which I understand drives the bus, but like you said, Randy, you also have to be concerned about your fans.
Yeah, but it did give us Mr. November.
It did. That was pretty cool.
Yeah.
That part was cool.
You're right. And that's one of the things. If you want to cultivate a young fan base, then one of the things, and that's another thing the NFL is genius about, is that they're able to cultivate the young fan base. Kids love it. So give them, as much as you hate to give them credit, and we've got multiple texts saying, I have no interest in the NFL anymore. I don't watch games anymore. And as bad as they are as people, Jerry Jones, we're looking at you. They do a really good job of marketing their product, and they'll sell more because they're setting records. That's Brooke. That's Dan. I'm Randy. And coming up here on 101 ESPN, we've got our Rush Hour Reset. Your St. Louis Blues. Here they come. It's next on 101 ESPN. My friends at Mentality tell me that there are two kinds of guys. There are those with excuses and those who get results. Most of the guys with excuses just don't understand there's a solution. That's why thousands of guys in St. Louis have joined Mentality and stopped making excuses. Join and find out what they can do for you. Go to lowtusa.com and make an appointment today to visit one of their clinics in Chesterfield or South County. At Mentality, what they do is check your testosterone level. That's the reason that guys lose their energy. That's the reason that guys aren't as sharp mentally. That's the reason that so many people have low energy and low motivation. Well, guys, at Mentality, they've got an FDA-approved testosterone treatment that will restore your testosterone level and restore your energy and restore your mental sharpness. And if you're dealing with belly fat or feeling bloated and have a lack of lean muscle tissue that you once took for granted, well, that'll get fixed when you go to Mentality. And they're going to work with your insurance company to make sure that your out-of-pocket expenses are as low as possible. It's Mentality. Get started today at lowtusa.com.
On the opening drive with a Rush Hour Reset.
.905 in St. Louis. Time check brought to you by Clarkson Jewelers, an officially licensed Rolex jeweler. I just learned that Matthew Rocchio thinks I'm crazy because I only like fried chicken, white meat. I like the breast and I like the wing. And Matthew says, you're crazy. And I said, no, we're perfect because you can have all the dark meat. You can have the thigh and the leg, and I'll take the white meat. I am a chicken and turkey white meat guy all the way.
I like it all.
I don't really have a preference, I was going to say.
We'll eat some birds, Randy, because I'm the complete opposite. I keep white meat, turkey meat away from me as miles away. Just dark meat, and I'll eat like breast meat when it comes to like chickens, but like a good chicken thigh, like with the chicken skin still on. Oh,
best fried chicken in town,
baby.
Oh, best fried chicken in town?
Yep. You know who's got really great fried chicken?
Grace's
the
Meat and 3.
Eckert's restaurant.
Eckert's, really?
Uh-huh.
I was going to say Grace's Meat plus 3.
You know what? Yeah. The Blue Owl in Kimsworth has insanely good fried chicken.
Call.
Cracker Barrel always is a safe call. I know I just said that, but I don't know. It's just in the South you have a lot of meat and 3s, so maybe it's just a bias of you get a lot of good fried chicken there. So if somebody has any suggestions, I will try anything.
Lemp Mansion has a family style setup with all you can eat chicken. Really good. You're right. You're right about Cracker Barrel too.
They actually do. Yeah, I like their chicken. And
you guys didn't mention the biscuits at KFC.
Oh, doctor.
Yeah.
KFC's strong.
Yeah. Okay. Well, you didn't mention it. You should have mentioned
I'm glad that you did.
Food connoisseur that you are.
Text line 314-399-9646, 314-399.
Yo-ho!
If you have the best fried chicken in town. Hodex, I haven't been to Hodex. Is Hodex still open?
Oh, man.
Oh, I've heard.
Great.
Yeah.
I've never been there, but you're right. Gus's. Gus is another really good one. I haven't been there in a while, but that's so good.
See, it's all coming back right now. It's all coming back.
It is. So anyway, I like me some fried chicken. The Blues won last night. They came back from a 3-1 deficit and knocked off the Calgary Flames by a score of 4-3. Sauter scoring in the final minute, and that is after Jordan Kyrou, as he always does, came through to tie the game at 3. Brooke, you're saying...
Because I know we need a sarcasm button.
Oh, okay.
I feel a little bit in the tone.
Yeah, a little bit. But and this was a shocker, and JK and Jamie both said they were shocked too. First shorthanded goal in the career of Braden Shen, and that really set the tone with the Blues down 3-1, facing a power play on the PK in the second period. Schenner with a breakaway shorthanded goal to give the Blues some momentum and get them within one, and that really, to me, changed the feel of the game.
It really did. I think that the first two periods, turnovers were a really big issue there. And especially, and I pointed this out, that Torrey Krug situation that led to the third goal, that's just really frustrating to see. But the fact of the matter is that they did win the game. They were able to come back. The third period was a huge difference. I said earlier, I think the PK had a big part of that and them being able to mount a comeback. They were 3 for 3 on the PK. But another big part is Jordan Binnington just continues to be what the Blues need, where he is able to keep them in the game where they can win, where they can come back.
I thought it was interesting when they moved Matthew Kessel with Krug, and then Marco Scandella had a really good game with Falk. And defensively, I thought Letty played really well too, but defensively kind of shored things up in that third period, and that made a difference too.
And the Blues will be back in action tonight. They'll take on Vancouver at Vancouver. 9 o'clock face-off, 8 o'clock pregame with Alex and Joey here on 101 ESPN. Oh, by the way, I guess Joey's doing the pregame on TV.
He is. Yeah, so it's Cam Jansen.
Cam Jansen.
That's with
there you
them
go. Good.
on the radio.
Baseball, Reese Hoskins signing a 2-year, $34 million deal with the Milwaukee Brewers. So they theoretically enhance their offense a little bit. We don't know how Hoskins will come off of the injury, and he didn't play at all last year for the Phillies. But that's, in my opinion, a nice sign on the part of the Brewers.
It is.
Well, they needed offense, and they have their young kid coming up that they signed without playing one game, one inning, one pitch, close to what, $85, $90 million. Made me think, are the Cardinals, if Goldschmidt is on the shelf right now in terms of contract extension, are they going to approach Jordan Walker this spring?
I would if I were them.
That is a great question.
They typically will extend a guy or two in spring training, and they target this, and it starts in the offseason, and then it's done in spring training. And I thought they may try to do this. It would be outside the box. I thought they may try to do it even prior to last year before he's played a game, but everybody, typically it said this guy's going to be a stud. Would you approach him this offseason or this spring training and say, do you want to get a deal done, buy out his arbitration years, couple years of free agency, and you, sir, will be the face of the franchise once Arenado and Goldie are done?
Do you feel like with Churio, who has not played a major league game yet, signing with the Brewers, does that set a template? Or does it have to be, is the comp somebody who's already played? Like, do the Cardinals have to go where Julio Rodriguez
That's where I'm going. Yeah, I would say more so with a player that's already played in the major leagues. I think that's the template. I also think that lesser teams, in terms of where they're at with payroll and market size, are going to have to get creative and do this thing like they did with Cheerios, and I call them Cheerios.
Cheerios, that's good, yeah.
They're going to have to do that because if this kid is as good as they think he is, there is no way they're going to be able to keep him in free agency. So that's one way to buy out those free agency years, at least a couple.
And the Rodriguez contract, 12 years, $209.3 million.
That just doesn't seem like the Cardinals would want to do that. That doesn't seem like their appetite. However, if Walker is the player that they think he is, that's the money he's going to command.
Takes you to 32 or 33 years old, 33 or 34 years old.
I agree with you, Dan. I think that they should do that. Now, one issue, when we're talking a lot about clubhouse culture going into the season, do you worry that because they haven't had that extension talk or extension with Paul Goldschmidt, that could cause some issues in the clubhouse? Not saying that Goldie would hold anything against, but sometimes when you see that with the young player getting more than the veteran player, it could cause some issues behind the scenes.
I don't. I think he's a well-liked kid. I think they understand the business side of it, and the business side stays outside of the clubhouse, and inside the clubhouse it's about playing. And I think more than anything, the players applaud another player for getting what he got. Not always, but generally speaking, I think they look at it and go, you know what, good for you, man, and let's go get him.
Totally different sport, but it just made me think, too, and what I was thinking with that example is the Blues with the whole Jordan Kyrou, Robert Thomas situation. I feel like there definitely was some tension there when you knew what that meant for the other veterans where they wouldn't be able to stick around.
Yeah, and it could be an issue, but I don't know if Goldie worries about it. He doesn't strike me as somebody who worries about that kind of stuff.
No, not at all. No. I don't think these guys care one bit what another player's making. Now, some players may. Those that haven't had their bite at the apple kind of look at it and, but not. I think generally speaking, it's the business side of sports, and they just keep that on the outside.
Okay, one other question for you guys, and I thought about this yesterday. So, Adrian Beltre, best third baseman in the sport for a large slice of his career, elected to the Hall of Fame. Todd Helton played all of his career in Colorado, elected to the Hall of Fame. And Joe Mauer, a couple of batting titles, Nolan Arenado, a couple of home run titles, and more RBIs over the course of a long stretch of his career than anybody. Based on the guys that got elected to the Baseball Hall of Fame yesterday, is Nolan Arenado an absolute dead solid lock right now to be in the Hall of Fame?
I think he is because of his defense. Yeah, I do.
He's Beltre, Helton, and Mauer all rolled into one.
Do you have his numbers in front of you, Randy?
I can get them for you right now.
So Arenado is, 10 years, 11 years in the big leagues, and closing in on 2,000 hits, probably winds up around 2,500, I would guess, depending on how long he plays.
He, at the moment, has played 11 years, and he has, let me roll this down again, he has 1,669 hits.
So you got to figure he plays another at least, let's say, 5 years. Takes him to age 38. He turns 33 this upcoming season. His defense will carry him further.
Yep, he's got 325 homers.
And so many people have talked about him being the preeminent third baseman and maybe the best defensively all time. Mm-hmm. And that's what I think would get him over the hump.
Yeah, and Beltre was right there during his career.
Yes.
And if you compare the two, Beltre is, I think, a sensational comp, although... I think they're
over 3,000 hits and 477 home runs for Beltre.
Yeah, and the best defensive guy. And Beltre played 21 years.
Right.
So I don't think that Arenado gets there, but I do believe that Arenado is a lock for the Hall of Fame.
I think the better question is, where's Goldie? Goldie's WAR is really close to being Hall of Fame worthy, especially he puts together a couple more years. And a lot of the voters are just looking not solely at WAR, but WAR becomes the prominent stat that they look at, wins above replacement, and he's not far off. He's pretty close to some of the other comps of first basemen that have been elected to the Hall of Fame with their WAR.
Among active players right now, he is behind Trout, who's Goldie has played 13 years. Trout's played 13 years. He's behind Trout, Votto, who's played 17 years, McCutchen, who's played 15, Altuve, who's also played 13, Freeman, who's played 14, and then there's Goldie. And Goldie is ahead of Evan Longoria in terms of WAR, who has 16 years under his belt. Mookie is going to wind up with more because he's only played 10 years. Bryce Harper has 12 years in the majors. Goldie has 13. Goldie's WAR 55.9. Harper's 45.6.
That's surprising to me.
Me too.
Well,
I think part of it would be his defense too at first base.
Manny Machado, he's got Manny Machado by a significant margin.
Todd Helton, with him getting in, I think that really solidifies that Paul Goldschmidt will get in. In my opinion, I think that's whenever I saw that last night, that's what my first thought was.
He's going to have a shot.
Yeah, he definitely is, and he'll play probably for 3 more years.
Helton never won an MVP, right?
No.
I would say Goldie plays, well, let's say 2 years and an option maybe with that deal, which would take him to 3 more years, which would take him to 39. He doesn't. I can tell you this.
He plays this year at age 36.
So he doesn't. So 3 more years. Yeah. He's 39. He doesn't play for the numbers. I can tell you that for sure. Mm-hmm. Plays to win and doesn't worry about. I can tell you the other thing is he's not worried about the Hall of Fame, even though all of us talk about it and where he's at and has a shot. I truly believe he doesn't worry about it. He's one of those guys like, had a nice career and moves on, won an MVP, got to some postseasons. Yeah, pretty cool. He's one of those guys.
But for his sake, you hope that he gets that World Series ring.
I would love it.
That's what he wants.
Yeah, absolutely.
He's playing to win.
And that's what I meant. He's playing to win.
Yeah. That's our Rush Hour Reset on 101 ESPN. Coming up, we talked earlier about whether or not Oli Marmol starts the season on the hot seat based on Katie Wu's piece at The Athletic. We want to hear from you via the Mic Drop feature on the 101 ESPN app. You can use that, or you can send us a text, 314-399-9646, 314-399. Yo-ho! Do you have Oli on the hot seat, or do you think that he's safe? That's next on 101 ESPN.
Hey everyone, it's Brooke here for Universal Windows Direct. I don't have to tell you this because you felt it all weekend long. It is really cold out there right now. Well, not as much right now. This is kind of a heat wave for us, but still, it is wintertime. It's cold out there. But where you shouldn't be feeling that cold, drafty air is in your home. So call my guys over at Universal Windows Direct to avoid the cold. But can windows really make that big of a difference? Here's the thing. Yes, they can. Universal Windows, they have this incredible technology developed by NASA called Super Spacer. It helps with the edge, keeps the edge of the glass warmer, holds the window seal longer, and makes the window last up to 5 times longer than other window systems. So you get the best windows for your home within your budget, and they perform better and last longer. Call and schedule your free in-home estimate today, and for every 2 windows you buy, you get the next 2 for free, plus a free upgrade to triple pane glass. Tell them that I sent you, and you get an additional $250 off your project. So for the last windows that you will ever need, go to universalwindowsdirect.com. Like me, you'll be saying, I love my windows.
Hey, kids, your floors are the first thing people see when they walk into your home. And other than your walls, which you can paint, your floors can take up the most space in the home. Imagine how new floors would dramatically change the look of your home, seamlessly connecting every room with style. Since most people replace their floors every 7 to 10 years, I suggest you do it right and visit Ambassador Midwest Floor. Don't settle for cheap floors from the box stores. Ambassador Midwest Floor displays the largest selection, so you can choose from the latest floor styles that are pet-friendly with stain-proof and waterproof technology. Celebrate the new year with new floors. Browse the finest collection of Shaw floors, hardwood, carpet, and luxury plank at Ambassador Midwest Floor, and save up to $500 on all Shaw floors during their New Year New Floor Sale. Do it yourself or get the finest installation from their employee team of over 100 master craftsmen certified in the latest flooring technology. Love your floors and experience more at Ambassador Midwest Floor. Check them out. Head out to Chesterfield Valley and to check out their beautiful facility there. It's Ambassador Midwest Floor. Katie Woo's latest missive at The Athletic is a story in which Oli Marmol talks about last year and what he expects this year. The headline is "Pressure is on Oli Marmol as Cardinals approach 2024. He said, quote, "Reality is I needed to be better." And when you win 71 games, I think that's pretty safe. Can't put 71 wins only on the manager, but there were certainly moves that we would question throughout the course of the season when we would come in the morning after games. And when you have a team that is working with less talent than a lot of teams, you don't have as much margin for error. Errors by the manager can turn out to be major problems. Now, there were times, you could have put Connie Mack in the dugout, and if he's bringing the Holy Trinity into the game, you're not going to win it. Right? So there were a lot of issues from a talent standpoint that Oli Marmol couldn't overcome. But there were moves, and again, they only won 71 games, so it wasn't like he could have changed things. But if you finish 1 or 2 games out and you take a starting pitcher out when he's still got gas left in the tank and you bring in Palante to blow a lead, or when you make a move where the fan questions the defensive abilities of a player that is put in, and then that player makes an error, that's where he needs to be better. And that's where a guy like Daniel Descalso can play a big role too. My point being here that because of, again, what I believe is a real thin margin for error, I think he does start the season on the hot seat, because for the first month of the season, the Cardinals are going to take on, realistically, more talented teams.
I think he is on the hot seat, and that goes for any manager after a season performance like that, where you saw so many different things go wrong. Now, of course, the roster construction is out of his hands. The execution by the players is out of his hands in a lot of ways, but at the same time, I think it doesn't matter who the manager is. When you see the lapse in fundamentals, as you mentioned earlier, Dan, when you see the defensive miscues, when you see a lot of things that they really didn't also take advantage of last season, then any manager is going to be in the hot seat. Now, I think with a lot of the moves that they made this offseason, that takes that away. You brought in a lot of that experience. You brought in that veteran leadership on the player side, but also some experience with your coaching staff as well. So it feels like a lot of that is out of the way going the season. Do you guys feel like enough moves were made where that narrative can kind of be squashed, that there wasn't enough there for them?
I don't, but I think the front office does. And that's the people that are going to make the decision, not me. I think the Cardinals, I think it's going to be really hard to win with the starting 5 that they have. Now, if they can, then that's a credit to Oli and the pitching group led by Dusty Springfield. But I think that if they expect to make the playoffs with this starting rotation, especially you have a 34, 35, 36-year-old, you expect them to get 32, 33 starts each. Granted, they did it last year. I just think that's really hard to do.
You're asking a lot. Mm-hmm. I'm with you. So I look at the rotation as being a 7-man rotation as opposed to 5, because at some point, doubleheaders may happen, injuries may happen. You're going to have to use them. I don't know if there's a difference between the two. I don't think he's on the hot seat. I think there's a ton of pressure. And I think there's a difference between the two. For instance, if they go out and, like Randy, you were saying, they start 7-14, let's say, in the first month, then I think he's on the hot seat. And if they don't play fundamental baseball like we talked about, Brooke, then you're on the hot seat. There's a manner in which you play, and if they don't come out and play inspired or error-free or fundamentally not sound, then I think it's on the manager, and then he's on the hot seat. And he welcomes this. I mentioned I did an event with him on Friday night to benefit the St. Louis University Billiken baseball program, trying to raise money for them. And one of the things I love that he did is I'm doing the Q&A and I'm firing questions at him, and then we open up to the audience. He said, folks, this is your shot. When you're yelling at your TV last year and you're thinking I'm an idiot, I'm up here to take it, and you tell me what you want. And I'm here to answer your questions. I appreciate that. He welcomes that. I also think he welcomes the pressure, and we'll see how it plays out, especially here in the first month. We had somebody on the text line ask about what happens in spring training and what if they play poorly. Well, they had the best record in baseball last year in spring training. Yeah. It means nothing. No. Yeah. It's just about getting players ready.
They were the Grapefruit League champs.
That's right.
That didn't count for much going into the season. Oh, no, please. No banner for that whatsoever. Dan, when you were having that conversation with him, and I like that he was very open, was there a question or answer that really stood out to you?
Yeah, it was about his use of the bullpen or taking pitchers out before this particular individual thought that they should. So, for instance, we talked about it earlier. Mm-hmm. If a reliever had a quick inning and went 10 or 12 pitches, why not bring him back for a second inning? Or why, with a starter that looks like he's rolling, why not play the gut and continue to use that starter And he said, well, actually, we did. It just didn't work out a lot of times, and we were the third most in terms of doing that and being aggressive, which really surprised me. But that was the one I think that stood out for me. The Yachty stuff was interesting. You know, he really wants Yachty to be a part of the organization, the coaching staff, and those were the things I think that stood out for me. I mean, he does not feel pressure from Yachty. I can tell you that. He wants Yachty to be a part of this. He doesn't look over his shoulder, and if this is somebody that can make them better, that he wants that individual there with the team.
And in regards to Yachty, this from the 314, with Yachty waiting in the wings to be the next Cardinal manager, Marmol's seat will be on fire with a very, very short leash. Another one, do you guys really think that Oli calls the shots on game night? I think he's the middleman between upstairs, Mo, and the dugout. So many other teams do the same. Yes, I do think that's the case, but you're the front-facing person, and the Cardinals are giving that impression that you are the guy that makes the decision whether you do or not.
Well, he gets a book of knowledge on these games. So he gets all the analytics, what the matchups may be, how the game may play out, and then ultimately it's his decision on what he wants to do. So he has a lot of information at his disposal, at his fingertips, but it's up to him if he wants to use it or not. And sometimes analytically, when they say to do A and really you feel like you should go to B, that's up to him and what he wants to do. And when it doesn't work out and you look like you look at a situation, you say, man, that's odd that he went that way and it blew up in his face. Probably analytically, that's what it was told to do on the sheet of paper that he's got.
And one last text, and I tend to agree with this one. I think Oli is safe as long as Mo is there. And Mo says he's bullish on Oli Marmol, and if Mo is in charge, then I would have a tendency to believe that. And Mo, as we know, is very, very patient.
Very patient. And I think the first month of the season, though, is telltale in a lot of ways in how this thing will go. L.A., San Diego, Miami, Philly, Arizona twice, Milwaukee. You're going to know what this team is about early on in terms of where they stand going into 2024.
That's Dan. That's Brooke. I'm Randy. Coming up, we hope to connect with our buddy Jamie Rivers here on 101 ESPN. If not, we are going to hear from you with some of your mic drops here on 101 ESPN. Oh, sure, it's going to get up to 50 degrees today, but we aren't done with the cold weather, and you need to make sure that your furnace is healthy for the winter months. That's why you need to get in touch with Hoffman Brothers. Heating, cooling, electrical, and plumbing. They do fantastic work for furnaces throughout the St. Louis metro area, including at the Carricker household. We've had them check our furnaces for years. A couple of years ago, they said, hey, you're going to have to be ready to buy a new furnace because this one's really old. And we got new furnaces installed by Hoffman Brothers, and they have been fantastic. They're your American Standard heating and air conditioning dealer, and they'll come out, they'll take a look to see what your furnace's condition is. They're going to make sure that it's clean. They're going to put a new filter in and make sure that it's really safe because, heck, there are so many safety issues, including carbon monoxide and gas leaks that are not checked all the time and will be checked by Hoffman Brothers. They are great at what they do. You love working with them. Make your appointment today at Hoffman Bros, HOFFMANN, HoffmanBros.com, or give them a call, 314-664-3011. Make that appointment today to get your furnace checked by Hoffman Brothers.
This is Rocky with your Sports Center update, driven by Johnny Londoff Chevrolet and Johnny Londoff Autoplex. The Blues with a 4-3 win over the Flames last night. They got it late thanks to a Brandon Saad goal, and they'll be back in action tonight facing off against the Vancouver Canucks. Late game on the coast. 9 p.m. puck drop means you can catch the pregame show right here. You're home for the St. Louis Blues starting at 8 p.m. And there's some breaking news in the NFL as the Green Bay Packers have fired Joe Barry as their defensive coordinator. That is your Sports Center update driven by Johnny Londoff. Find your Road and Shop 24/7 at Londoff.com and LondoffAutoplex.com. Are you kidding me?
Well, I'll tell you what, that's interesting news that Matthew Rocchio provides. And one of the great multi-sport careers, I think, in history. Joe Barry Carroll did such a great job as a center for the Warriors and now defensive coordinator for the Packers, and he gets fired. But you got to give the guy credit, Dan.
Are we back on?
Yeah, we're on.
Oh.
This is live on air.
Yeah. I told you I'd play along. I'm playing along. You said play along, and I said, okay, I will, and I'm letting you do your thing.
Matthew, wasn't Joe Barry Carroll, like, he was a stud basketball player, and hey, he had his defense in the playoffs this year.
I honestly, when you think about the defensive things you can pull from basketball and bring to football, it's even more impressive because I don't know how those things align. Like, how do you work a zone defense in basketball into a zone defense
Randy
on football? I'm
looks
confused.
at numbers and he looks at names, and he's able to tie things. If you ask Randy about like a number of what a player wore 25 years ago, he knows it.
Here's the thing.
He ties all this stuff in.
I've never, like, I don't associate Joe Barry Carroll's name as being Joe Barry. It's Joe Barry Carroll. It's not, there's not an extra, like, so like, I wouldn't have ever connected those two threads even in the first place because it's Barry Carroll, not Barry. And so the fact that you're able to pull that thread is just, this is why I failed to stump him in the fight
Joe
so
Barry
consistently.
Carroll,
This is an example.
In the NBA draft, number one overall
That's
in
right.
1980.
I remember that even.
And he is not the Packers defensive coordinator.
No, he's
anymore.
not. That's a different guy.
Oh.
It's a different guy.
He's also not the Packers defensive coordinator anymore.
Are you surprised that he's out as DC?
He was under siege all year long.
Yeah.
They weren't very happy with him. And LaFleur has a tendency to do that, to just go through defensive coordinators.
Okay.
He does. There's nothing wrong with that.
Were we supposed to have Jamie Rivers on?
Yeah, that's what I was.
Jamie's on the West Coast. It's 7:37 in Vancouver, so he didn't answer his phone. And we did ask you for your mic drops about the Oli situation, so we're going to get a couple of those taken care of because we want to hear from you here on the opening drive on 101 ESPN. Let's start with Chris.
Oli's totally safe. He's the only guy that would let the front office call a game and manage a game. It's like insane. He's just a mouthpiece. They love mouthpieces. Hey, Randy, did you ever take that loaf of bread home?
What?
Loaf of bread. Do we know?
What's that from, Randy?
I don't know.
I'm not sure. I thought I was going to leave that reference up to you. I thought you'd get it.
I don't know.
Did you make some bread? Are we missing something here?
I don't know, Chris. I do not know.
Huh.
Do you make bread?
I've never made bread in my life.
Of all the things, you don't make bread?
No.
Yeah, you do make a lot of things.
Yeah, I make a lot of things, but not bread.
Really?
You should get into that.
If you listen to like the last year of Joey Vitale interviews, you could probably end up being a pretty good baker just from the info.
I think that's
just
what
from
it's
the info he drops off on us.
Mm-hmm. That's what it's from. Remember, he talked about what you do with certain ways to make bread.
Oh yeah,
that was last Friday. Yeah, that's what that's from.
Okay, good.
You're best known for your carrot cakes, which I think you said you were going to make for Jamie.
Yeah, I'm just waiting until the team's home for a consistent stretch here, so that I can take it down to the rink or bring it over here. I owe Dan a carrot cake.
Yes,
too.
you do.
Late March. They're here for like a week straight.
Oh, there we go. So we'll look at that.
Anyways, back to his question. What do you guys think about that? Is Oli a mouthpiece for the front office organization?
If it is not the case, then it is an unfortunate for him perception out there because nationally people believe that that's the case.
Well, I would say nationally people think that all managers are outside of Bruce Bochy and maybe Joe Madden if he was managing.
And Torey Lovullo admitted it during the World Series. And, we've got a script that starts before.
Roberts
because remember he had a game that he wanted to keep the scorecard because it went exactly according to script. And you've got Dave Roberts, who's been the manager of maybe the most successful regular season franchise over the last decade. When they ask him about who his starting pitcher is going to be, he says, I don't make those decisions. So
yeah, I mean, a lot of it is dictated from the front office, and I think it's league-wide, not just something that Oli has to deal with.
Yep. Christian has a mic drop for us here on 101 ESPN.
I don't think the Cardinals were as far away from being successful last year as their record showed. If you clean up some of a lot of the blown saves that they had to a more reasonable year, and you don't deal with some of the early season drama of moving Contreras and O'Neill around, I think clubhouse is generally more positive. You get more breaks. So I don't think Marmol's going to be in the hot seat just because I expect the Cardinals to take a big step forward this year, even though talent-wise and roster-wise, we haven't seen a ton of huge improvements. I think management has done enough to shore up the areas that they need to shore up.
Now, bullpen-wise, with what he's talking about, I saw last night. We talked about that a lot last season, about how big of a difference the blown saves, if you would have taken that away, how different the record would have been. This bullpen now, how do you guys feel about it? I like that you bring in Andrew Kittredge into the situation, a veteran presence in there, but does it still feel like, I just feel like they need another reliever. Maybe that's just me.
They need a very durable closer, and Ryan Helsley has not shown himself to be durable yet.
What about Gallegos, though, on the nights that he is not closing?
I just don't trust him anymore.
Yeah.
And I did a couple of years ago, but, man, it seemed like last year whenever he was put in a leveraged situation, things blew up in a hurry. And so I'm concerned about him. 20 of the 28 saves that the Cardinals had last year are still on the roster. 8 of the blown saves have departed. So I think they do. And maybe Kittredge is a guy that could close. Maybe if Tink Hence makes the team, maybe one of the guys that came in a trade, they can find a closer. But it sure would be nice when you think it's going to be a close race for a playoff spot. It'd be nice to settle that early and not be giving up games in the late innings.
Among National League teams, only the Mets, Nationals, I think it was the Pirates, the Giants scored fewer runs than the Cardinals. So it's not only talking about the bullpen, and the bullpen, it was just terrible. I mean, 41 leads lost, all the blown saves. They were terrible in high leverage situations. Matter of fact, the ERA was over 10 in those. I would think that comes back to being quote unquote normal. You're going to have your fair share of blown leads in games and saves and whatnot, but don't overlook what happened offensively, right? Offensively, they were not where they needed to be. I would think, to the Mike Drop's point, having a healthy Brendan Donovan, putting Edman in center every day, another year for Walker, Goldie and Arenado, I get it, a lot of what ifs, but if some of those things come through, you're a much better team.
And Wynn can't be worse than DeYoung was.
No.
That's a good point.
Yeah,
right?
Very good point.
And Paulie D, he lost a step defensively, too. He just wasn't the same player anymore.
And you hope for some more power from your outfield, and that's when we're talking about Tommy Edman offensively. Hopefully, Jordan Walker can continue to take step forwards. You'll see that from him. Lars Nootbaar as well. I think that's another key component there. But then offensively, last season, the situational hitting was something that was really baffling to me, that it seems like they really struggled with that.
And Nootbaar has to stay healthy. He's got to be on the field.
Yeah.
And I think the situational hitting, Goldie at the age of 36 is going to have to be better than he was. Arenado was not great in the clutch last year. He's going to have to be better. Your big guys that you're counting on to deliver in those situations are going to have to be better. That's Brooke. That's Danny. I'm Randy. And coming up, we're going to head down the stretch with Rocc and Roll here on 101 ESPN.
Hey everyone, it's Brooke here, and I want to tell you about why I like the Metro Link so much. I decided to use it to go over to a Blues game not too long ago, and I just found it really easy to use. I support public transportation. I think it's really big for anybody, whether you ride or not, something that should be available for everyone, and it was just really easy to get over to Enterprise Center for a game. They have a great app where you can track where you need to go. It was only $5, Randy, for an all-day pass, and so it was super easy to use. But even if you haven't given Metro a try yet, it's something that I can promise you other places wish they had available, and there's many benefits even if you don't ride.
Yeah, and Metro, not the Metro Link, but Metro has been around for more than 60 years now, and it's really done a fantastic job of providing public transportation in the St. Louis metro area. And we all need to understand that a healthy metro is vital to the viability of St. Louis to attract Fortune 500 companies. We can do it. We can live up to our potential, but we need great public transportation. And fortunately, we have it with Metro. In short, thanks to Metro, you don't have to drive to thrive.
and Roll.
Let's rock. Let's rock today.
It is time for Rock and Roll. Matthew Rocchio, what do you got for us?
I don't know about you guys, but I have been waiting with bated breath for the City Connect jerseys to finally hit St. Louis, because the collective blue hair pearl clutching freak out that's going to happen is going to be hilarious. But more so than that, I found another reason to laugh at it, because did you know that the MLB has a 4+1 limit on the jerseys that a team is allowed to have in one season? And that limit includes your spring training jersey. So because of the addition of the City Connect jerseys this year, the Cardinals have to dump one of their jerseys, and the one that's going out is the all-red spring training jersey. The Cardinals will revert back to just their regular home and away jerseys for spring training, and this has been confirmed by UniWatch in a statement from Bill DeWitt Jr. or Bill DeWitt III, who said, yep, all the information you got's right, so no more red spring training jersey, back to the regular home and away, and it's all because of that City Connect jersey coming up later. I'm so excited.
People go nuts over jerseys.
People go nuts.
I'm excited about the City Connect, but I think it's pretty stupid to separate the regular season and spring training.
I also agree with that. That's a weird decision to count a spring training jersey as your 4+1 jerseys for the season. Like, why not separate them? Shouldn't spring training be different?
Yeah, well, don't you think, too, it's for sales purposes, too? Some people may like the red. Maybe they like the white.
That's true.
Maybe they like the victory blue. They're going to like the City jersey. They like the different colored hats. So it's a chance to maybe make more money. That's something to think about, too. But I know for sure, Bill DeWitt III cares greatly about the logo and the jersey of the St. Louis Cardinals. I mean, that is a big, big deal to him. And I appreciate that he takes an appreciation into that. A lot of people do.
When you see the attention to detail on the Cardinal jersey since 1996, that's been Bill DeWitt III. He's really into it, and it's cool. I'm with you. I think it's great, and I think they have a great-looking jersey, and it looks so much better than it did before he started tinkering with it.
They started tinkering with, like, how much in the bat was, how big the bird on the bat was. I mean, he went back and looked at old uniforms. My personal favorite is the Saturday home. The cream with the piping and the St. Louis on the front. That hadn't been done since like 1926, I believe, with St. Louis on the front. So it's an ode to the past, to the historic franchise. I think it's pretty cool.
Kind of like the starting rotation this year.
Randy.
What?
No. Why would you slip that in there? This is so nostalgia. Good. We're enjoying things, okay? Why would you slip that in there?
What else do you have on Rock and Roll?
By the way, I really like the Sunday cap. The home Sunday cap is beautiful, too.
Yeah.
And every time we talk about Cardinals uniforms, and now we have somebody new in the room, I have to get their opinion, because one thing that I'm okay with standing on a soapbox when it comes to baseball is that the Cardinals should wear the navy blue hats with the away jerseys. Danny Mac, your opinion on that?
I prefer that. I wish they had the navy.
Thank you.
Yeah, I like the navy on the road.
Shouts to Tim McKernan, who's been beating that drum for a while.
Like when you're playing the Reds, though, you can't have the same colored hat. So you got to go to a different, that's when you'd go to a different color. But if you're not, then you're sticking with the Reds, which I'm fine with that. I just don't get geeked out over this stuff. I don't think it's that big a deal.
I believe the Cardinals had a fan vote, and the fans did vote for the navy blue. And then the way it wound up being is that, we'll wear the navy blue when we're playing a team with a red cap.
Yeah.
So that's the only time they wear it. But correct. I think the fans voted for the
believe that's
blue to be worn on the road all the time.
Listen to the fans. Yeah, I just really want to see what these City Connect jerseys look like. Well, I'm a little scared, but excited.
Well, Brooke, to your point, I didn't think this is Ryan. This is just the YouTube tap responding to this news. Hell no! Damn, I like the red spring training jersey. Those City Connect jerseys have been so dumb so far. STL's is most likely going to suck. Also, Droid Effects. I hope our City Connect jerseys aren't ass like everybody else's. It will be, Droid. Don't worry. And so there's not a lot of people who are already mad and they haven't even seen the jerseys yet. Which is, I mean, you can't. You weren't going to get it right for the Cardinals. You can't get it right with the Yankees. You can't get it right with the Cardinals.
Yankees aren't going to do one. They aren't participating.
And see, that's what the MLB should have done. When you have the two most iconic jerseys in your sport, and I would argue that they are the two most iconic jerseys in the sport, followed closely by the Dodgers, you don't screw with it. Even for a little potential thing
Why?
like this.
Why not? Because time moves on, man.
Well,
some things are untouchable.
So I asked a member of the Cardinal front office about the City Connect, and I said, I'm assuming there's going to be an arch. And they said, yeah, if we don't do an arch, that'll be a big miss on our part. But I was also told that it's not going to deviate very dramatically from their everyday home jersey, that it'll be...
They don't want to gimmick it up.
No, they don't. It's going to be a clean look that fans should appreciate.
Sure.
Like an arch across the chest, you
maybe,
think?
yeah, or maybe,
Where else?
maybe over the birds on the bat or something.
That's what I was thinking, like a little one. What about on the sleeve? Maybe you have one sleeve that's got the sponsor, another sleeve it's got something else. That would keep it clean to an extent.
Yeah.
Maybe.
So I love the Giants with the Golden Gate Bridge, and they've got the SF up on the, and it's gradient.
Yeah.
And it's really bright white. It's pretty cool. I like the Giants city. And Matthew said he's a big fan of the Boston one. I'm a fan of the Boston one as well. It's pretty cool.
It's only a handful of games. What's the big deal?
Jerseys, man.
It's not.
Remember when the Cardinals had, when McGuire was here, that Ahead to the Future game where they wore the space age jerseys? That was not a good day.
No, that wasn't.
No. I like the Washington Nationals City Connect with the cherry blossoms and the White Sox.
Yeah, those are nice.
South side.
The White Sox South side, I can't do dark blue on dark blue.
It's one of the only monochromatic ones. The White Sox one that actually worked.
Yeah.
See navy?
Was it black? Black on black?
It was black. Yeah.
The White Sox ever had navy in their color scheme?
Yeah.
It's not been black the whole time?
Tony La Russa, no. Tony La Russa, they wore navy.
I thought it was black.
The first time, no.
What?
Go back and
this is blowing my mind.
1983, Tony Google.
Oh, back
Google
in
image search.
'83.
Yeah.
Really? Yeah.
Yeah.
I thought you meant recently, Tony La Russa.
Oh, no, that was black and
Oh, yeah. Now I'm with you. Yeah, that was
terrible.
The dark navy, and they had a little red, little white in there. They had the stripes going. They had the socks in the front.
No, I don't like that.
That seems wrong. And by the way, to your point, I don't think a lot of people in St. Louis really remember the ones that you referred to, the ones with the crazy sleeves and like the black, like the slanting black thing for the Cardinals. I saw that get put on Twitter a few months ago when people were talking about Cardinals jerseys, and the amount of people who had zero recollection of what the heck that jersey was, I barely even remembered it. Like, it hit me, and I was like, something like triggered in my brain. I think there's a lot of people who don't remember that happening, but I imagine St. Louis wasn't too happy.
I think Chris Sale would have cut those things up.
I like sleeveless.
Sleeveless.
Oh.
Old school sleeveless.
Yes.
The piping. I like the black spikes. I'm talking old school 60s Cardinals.
You know what I hate, though, is maybe the worst look in all of baseball is a gray jersey with pinstripes. Like Colorado had.
I'm not a big fan of that either.
And the Reds, when the Reds wore their red pinstripes, I wasn't a fan of that either.
So
only one pinstripes works.
The sleeveless or the I guess if you want to call it the vest style jersey that the Rockies had for a while, that they officially, last year was the last year they were going to wear it. So officially, sleeveless and vest style jerseys are 100% dead in baseball.
Correct.
Right now. It's not a thing anymore. The Rockies had it as one of their throwbacks, I think, until last year, but they got rid of that one. So there are no more vest or sleeveless jerseys. And I agree with Danny. That's a travesty.
Back in the day, late 80s, early 90s, when Deion Sanders went to the Reds, he demanded that they have the sleeveless.
Yes.
And he won. He said to management, I want sleeveless. They went sleeveless.
I like those jerseys. The whole uniform looked good.
It did.
Kind of classic.
What about the shorts?
With the White Sox?
Yeah.
Yeah, that probably wasn't the best move on Bill Beck's part.
I'm looking at the photos of it right now.
Yeah, it's a good softball team.
Yeah.
Yeah. You get a little leg action in there.
There you go.
That always helps ratings.
Yeah. Well, you'd think
Little
it
knees.
would. But you know what? Then all of a sudden you start defining a player by his moderate to severe plaque psoriasis on his leg. It's just not a look.
It's just not a look. I can't.
Would Chris Carpenter have liked shorts?
He has a full leg tattoo.
Both legs.
Does he really?
Yeah.
Wow.
And both arms. He's as inked as Chris Long is.
Chris Long is very inked.
He really is.
Did you say inked or inked up?
Inked up, yeah. With
That's
tattoos.
what the kids say.
So are you, Randy, though, honestly.
I don't have quite what Christopher has. He's got a giant lion, I think, on his back. So, we had a great day today with our producer and audio and video engineer, the one, the only Matthew Rocchia. Thank you, sir.
Pleasure.
Brooke, did you have fun today?
Yes.
Danny Mac, we got him to say yo-ho once.
I say it every day, one time.
One time. Yep. I appreciate it.
And I put a lot of effort into thinking about it. When should I do it? It's strategic. And A lot of emotion into it, too.
Oh, big time. I felt it. I felt the emotion.
Thank you, buddy.
I really did. I felt it today, too.
Thank you, Brooke.
Great job by Danny Mack. We thank you for being a part of the show, tuning in, texting in, and joining us. For all of us until tomorrow morning at 7. Have a great hump day, St. Louis.